Hey everybody, this is A7X Fan Ben here with God Mason, and this is episode number 22 of the Pirate CSG podcast. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean set. This was something WizKids collaborated with Disney on, and they made a set together. Although it seems like WizKids mostly made it, but they were able to use the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff in the set, which is really cool. I know a lot of people don't like it because it mixes like universes or whatever, but to me, I think it's okay, mostly because the theme is perfect. So, and WizKids was already trying to go there with Davy Jones' Curse, Ocean's Edge, and even from Spanish Main, like Captain Jack Hawkins is basically Captain Jack Sparrow, but a little bit different. So, I think it's a pretty cool set, but I know you're not the biggest fan of it, for the concept at least.
Yeah, I like to keep, for the most part, my peas and potatoes separate on the plate. I like them both, but together, not necessarily. At the same time, I don't really object to this set because there are a lot of really good pieces. There are some really good introductions to this set, abilities, one unit type, and the new card punch style. For those of you out there who don't have any ships really from this set or later, and that would be any of the Cursed Seas set that came after this, they debuted a new punch style where all the tabs where you slot the hull into the deck plate and the mast and all that, they're rounded off instead of squared, making assembly much easier.
Yeah.
This is also the only set not to feature the Spanish at all, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, and kind of a shame because that makes me wish that they'd saved this until that other film came out.
Yeah, the fourth one, yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, fourth, or even the fifth, who knows?
Yeah, a little bit.
Even though that came out last year.
Yeah, with the changing card design, I think it was kind of good and not perfect. Like, I don't know, I like the old school design where there's gaps between the sails and the spars or whatever on the masts. They are easier to put together. I do like how they rounded the edges. That makes the masts and different like pieces of the hull easier to fit together into the slots. But I also don't like how they did away with the pennant flags, because I think those on the main mast of square-rigged ships can really make the game look better, in my opinion, make the ships look cooler. But
I agree.
Anyway, and then the set also introduced a new ship type, which we're going to see later. Might as well save it for the end, but Krakens were introduced in this set as well.
Or Krakens.
Yeah, of course.
Or Krakens.
Yeah.
We'll maybe argue about that later. Depends on how much I drink.
Yeah, if I can pretend to be Pintel or Brigetti, we could reenact the scene. But
oh God, put on accents.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. And you'll notice very early on that this set only had the pirates and the English, which was one of the main features of it. But a lot of people, including myself, think that the curse should have been involved. I think Davy Jones and all of them could have been cursed very easily, because they should be separate from Will Turner and Barbossa and the more normal pirates. I mean, Barbossa is cursed a bit, but he shouldn't really be part of the cursed faction for the most part. But yeah, I thought it was a little off, but two factions, it did allow both factions to get a lot of good pieces, which you could make a pretty good case that it makes this set gives the pirates in English a bit of an edge overall compared to most of the other factions. So
that's a really interesting suggestion, to be honest, and that would have also tooled up the Cursed with some really good ships and crew that they're kind of in desperate need of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it would really help them out too.
Yeah, I'm actually curious if anybody has like house rules that allow them to be using cursed ships.
Absolutely. Yeah, somebody in the survey talked about how they've done that, and I actually made a thread, I think so anyway, making different versions of the crew, and people have talked about it on the forum for years about how even some like Mistress Ching could be part of the Jade Rebellion, so they really could have diversified the factions a lot, but they kept it to two, so it's too bad.
I mean, a lot of the new like pirate lords introduced in the third film had that sort of. They had the feel like they were meant to represent a lot of the same factions that appeared in the game, and of course they're meant to represent, you know, sort of, I'm not going to say pirating communities, but I guess the pirates that existed around the world in different forms throughout history. And it just so happens the game and the films kind of took that into stride.
Yeah. Yeah, it coincides pretty well. So, in a lot of ways, this is kind of like the perfect collaboration. But they kind of missed the ball a little bit here. So they could have done it a bit better. And two other things I forgot about, both to do with the rarities. First of all, this was the first set. They started this with this set when they changed the ship designs and eventually soon after rebranded it to Cursed Seas. But the rarities are not based on faction now, or the numbering is not based on faction. It's based on rarities. So you'll see all the rares stacked at the front of the set, at least for the ships and crew, and then they put the other rarities after that. So I like it. Once again, I like the older style better. I think it's better grouped by faction, but oh well.
Yeah. All right. Should we start in on the ships now?
Yeah, just, and the other flaw, there's so many, all these flaws, as good as the set is, there's all these collation issues people talked about. So, like, one booster box would have packs full of commons, and then another one would be all rares. And apparently there were even some, like, quote-unquote god boxes with all super rare packs in them. So, they really messed up in that regard, too. And I know Wolf has talked about how the set was delayed for, like, maybe multiple months or something. So, as good as the set is, there were a lot of issues and a lot of things they could have done better. But yeah, let's get into the pieces. So
actually, I'd like to mention real quick. Yeah. This was, I think, the only set that had more than 2 styles of pack art. Because Davy Jones had its original run, and then its, I guess you wouldn't call it its unlimited, but it had a second run. Yeah. It was better printing quality and different pack art. This had characters from the films on the front of the packs. You could get some with Jack Sparrow, Elizabeth Turner, I think Will Turner as well.
Yeah, Davy Jones.
Yeah. There were at least 4 pack art variations. I don't know if they were all the same in each booster box or if they were varied or what was up.
Yeah, I think it was varied, I believe. But
yeah. Either way.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things about this set. Very unique overall, especially with the 2 factions. So
we'll probably forget something. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll get into it with the first ship here. Number 001 is the Flying Dutchman, which is a pirate ship, not cursed in this case. It's a rare 5-masted ship. It's 20 points, L move. All 5 cannons are 3S, and it's got 3 abilities. It's got Eternal, Ghost Ship, and the Massacre ability, which is if this ship succeeds the boarding party, she can eliminate all of the other ship's crew. So this is a solid pirate flagship. She could really use a World Hater to make the cannons all 2S. I've used this ship kind of as like an intimidation factor and kind of a flagship in bigger games. The pirates do have a lot of great named crew that can take advantage of stuff like this, like oarsmen to help with Eternal, +1 to boarding rolls. They have gold capture crew. You could try and just make it a boarding monster basically and go to town. So this one's pretty fun to use, but you really need like over 30 points to optimize it. So I would recommend using her in 60 or more point game.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is one of the only, if not the only, 5-master in the game ever released that had the Eternal keyword native to it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And let's see. What this reminds me of, though, is I think the Deliverance it was from Crimson Coast, which is, SL move and all 3 rank guns. And it was, I think, also had Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
But it had some L range guns and it was a couple points cheaper.
Yeah.
So this is like, I guess, a bit more of a Dreadnought-like version of that. Much slower, a bit more expensive, worse guns, but more conducive to boarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your appraisal's right. She's an expensive enough ship that she's not really something you can use to her potential in a 40-point game. No, we're not to Endeavor yet, but we are to HMS Dauntless, which was, I think it's kind of funny that they made Dauntless I'm thinking the Interceptor. Oh, Lord. I'm getting really confused. HMS Dauntless is the first English ship of the set. She's a 5-master, 16 points, 5 cargo, L move. The guns are 3S on the ends and all 2L in the middle. Her ability is this ship ignores the first hit she takes each turn as long as she has all of her masts. Is she basically a better version of HMS Lord Algernon because she's faster?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, speed is usually more worthwhile than the slight decrease in firepower, and she's also got 2 more cargo, so yeah, better ship overall.
Yeah, more easily crewed up. I'm pretty sure the Algernon is 15 points,
Yeah.
so there's a little more you can do with this ship. Never mind the larger cargo capacity; it's got a slightly higher point limit. So, and it's faster, which is really significant with ships of this size. So, yeah.
The next one is HMS Endeavour, number 003, which is an English 5-master as well. This one is 21 points, 4 cargo, L move. All 5 cannons are 2L, and the ability is this ship eliminates 2 masts with 1 hit. So that's just about the best offensive ability in the game, bar none. And it makes the Endeavour pretty much the best gunship in all of the game, along with El Corazado and the original Constitution from Revolution. So those 3 are pretty much the best 1v1 gunships in the game. Some others can be a little bit more effective at 40 points, but in terms of pure gunnery, those 3 are pretty much the top. And this ship matched up against the Corazado series I played a while back, and I think the Endeavour won 10 games against a 9 for the Corazado, but the Corazado didn't have the best crew setup in a few of the games, so it's very close. But overall, it's probably the mightiest warship outside of 10 Masters, and even then, if you use a World Hater and get these cannons to 1L, you could theoretically dismast a 10 Master with 1 shoot action, so that's really impressive. I will say the flaws they made, I think in this case, are actually mostly just artwork based, because you can see the Endeavour from At World's End is a classic 3-decker from the Royal Navy, and in this case she's only got 1 gun deck, and the sails look like they could be on a cursed ship, where it should be a very clean, nice looking Royal Navy ship. And it's a little weird with the sizes. The Dauntless is a 50 cannon ship, and then the Endeavour is 100, but they're the same size. But the firepower kind of bears out the difference at least. So one of my favorite ships in the game, really, especially because the English are my favorite, of course.
Yeah, I think it's probably worthwhile to go back to the film and check what the Endeavour looked like in the films to see how the masts differ. I wonder
it's a lot different. Yeah, the hull is totally different too. So it should be the classic Nelson checker on the sides, but oh well.
Yeah. As far as the game piece goes, I think you summed it up pretty well. It does have firepower that rivals a 10 master, but it's cheaper than any of the 10 masters, even the Zeus, if not by much. The small hold means it's maybe kind of tricky to figure out how to best crew it up, but the English are not short for great options. And they even in this set have some really fitting named crew. And like the Flying Dutchman above, this is expensive enough that, used to its potential, bigger games.
Yep.
So into Grand Barnacle, which is kind of a funny ship because it's one of the cheapest 5-masters ever released. I think it's among the 5 cheapest. I'm not sure. It's the same price as Roanoke, which is a brilliant ship. So this has got some. Okay, funny enough, it's a 5-master that's 13 points, so it's already kind of direct competition to Roanoke, but Roanoke has a funny thing going where it's an American ship that accepts pirate crew. This is a pirate ship that accepts crew of any nationality. That's its ability. It has slightly less cargo than Roanoke at 5. It moves faster with S plus S. Its guns are all S range with 4 at the end, 3 in the middle. Roanoke gets L's in the middle. So it's kind of weird. This is sort of an alt version of it. And the ship is, despite slightly different stats, I think it's probably still comparable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty solid ship overall.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad, but this actually looks more like the Endeavour from the movie than the than WizKids version does. So, oh well. It's
Maybe
like
they printed the wrong artwork?
I know, yeah, it seems like it. Yeah, that's a believable error, maybe. Weird. But yeah, the Grand Barnacle is solid. I'd say the speed and cargo are the biggest assets. The ability is definitely nice, helps with some flexibility. Pirates already have the best name crew, so you don't always need it. But and Xerix has a UPS style fleet, which is like universal pirate shipping, one of the better fleets using Captain Jack Sparrow, which we'll see later, and he has an interesting crew setup on this. So I think it's a pretty good ship, but it kind of pales in comparison to some of the great Pirate 5 Masters, which they have plenty of. So the next one is the Jolly Mon, which is a Pirate 1 Master. So now we're into the rare ones. 1 point, the only ship in the game with that point cost. 1 cargo, SS move, 4S cannon. And the ship's base move becomes S when she reaches her cargo limit. So as soon as you put anything aboard that takes up cargo space, she's going to slow down. So this thing is not useless, though. I would say a super cheap flotilla tug is kind of a not so great, but okay use for her. She can't really run gold. She's going to be caught or sunk or boarded or whatever. But the most common usage is with the 0 LR ransom +5 to build total crew. Such as the Hag of Tortuga or Cannonball Gallows from Mysterious Islands. Put one of them aboard the Jolly Mon and just leave the Jolly Mon at home, and you basically have 4 free points to add to your fleet, which not only demonstrates the problem with the +5 crew, they messed the game up a little bit and kind of made it unbalanced between the factions, but also kind of shows how the Jolly Mon can be broken pretty easily. So not a great addition, and thematically this is actually Jack's like little sloop he sails in on at the beginning of Curse of the Black Pearl, which I didn't know until a little while after.
Yeah, statistically, this is an awful ship, but by virtue of being the single cheapest one ever released, it has value, even if it's limited.
Yep.
I don't know if I'll ever ban this among my play group. I guess I'll find out when I resume playing, because I've just been busy with semester and haven't played a game in months. But yeah, Jolly Mon, ban or not, dunno, probably. Yeah, Banshee's Cry is on the ban list, so.
Nice.
Yep. Speaking of ban, we've got the Barnacle, which is technically pronounced the Barnacle. It's a 12.1 masted sloop, which is sort of a disaster in the opposite direction. It has LS move for cargo, 3 L gun, and L range cannons can't hit this ship. Okay, decent ability, good move, good cargo, solid gun, but it's still a 1-masted ship. This is worth at most 6 points, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, yeah. I think it's okay as a gold runner kind of within this set alone, but when you look at other ships like the Bloody Jewel or obviously the Cry, it really pales in comparison. It does have almost everything going for it. The cost is really the only thing holding her back, but obviously that's quite a big detriment. So I still like the ship overall, though. It's not a bad option if you don't have much else. And next, we're going to go on an adventure, such as HMS Adventure, which is a ship. Yeah, which is a ship I actually just got in a trade, like a week ago or so. And this is an English 1-master, 7 points, 3 cargo, L move, 3S cannon, and crew of any nationality can use their abilities on this ship. This one I just got. I don't think I've used her yet. It's just doesn't have a lot going for it. My meme is that Calypso could be used with the English on this ship. But other than that, I don't really see much use. So she can't really do anything super effectively. So probably not gonna see the light of day often at all.
Yeah, the problem is that it's a statistically dead average ship, except for its point cost, which is a little high considering its lack of capabilities.
Yeah.
That ability is useful. It's most useful when the attributes of the ship are well-rounded, maybe a little bit underpriced. But in this case, they're a bit expensive, and having international crew doesn't really add any value because it doesn't have any strengths worth augmenting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. It's trespassing on the territory of usability, which is kind of funny because right after that is HMS Trepassey. I tried. That wasn't great. It doesn't matter. HMS Trepassey. Wait, my dad knows a lot about English pronunciation. Should I call and hold on? Dad?
Phone a friend.
Yeah, phone a friend. How do you pronounce this? Come down and have a look at my screen. We're arguing.
I say Trepassey.
It's English, but
I don't know. Yeah, that would be, I guess Trepassey, but it could come from any kind of origin. It's Trepassey.
Leprosy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't need to hear more about the name because we have to talk about the ship and how mediocre it is. Okay, 7.1 masted sloop, 3 cargo, LS move, 4S gun. So it's maybe a gold runner. When the ship carries no cargo, she gets +S to her base move. Okay, that's not too bad, really. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it's sort of vaguely comparable to, I think it's Le Pic. A little tiny bit faster initially, a little bit more expensive, and smaller cargo capacity. Okay, maybe it's not as bad as I first thought.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good, especially for the English, because they don't get a lot of good gold runners. Yeah, we've gone over other ships like this in the past, but this one stands out because its base move is already good, and then you add another S on when she's sailing out to get gold, and you've got LSS on the trip to the island, and this is actually makes it one of the best English gold runners in the game. So yeah, it's a pretty solid ship. Nothing to do other than running gold empty, but that's fine. They could use more ships like that. So the next one is Empress, the undamaged version, as it says on Venture Trading. This one is the first of two versions of the ship, based on the movie, of course, At World's End. It's a pirate ship, 3-masted junk, 10 points, 4 cargo, L move. Cannons are 2S, 2L, 2S. And this ship gets +1 to her cannon rolls against English ships. And a link to Captain Cao Feng, who has the extra action ability for 5 points. And this one is kind of just solid gunship. Maybe a little bit of a hybrid, but not very fast. So it's a solid ship. The pirates are better, of course, but I don't know. I think she's decent as overall.
I would say she's maybe a virtuous wind light because she's not as fast and doesn't have as big a cargo capacity or quite as good guns or a useful ability. But she's a few points cheaper. She's still pretty well equipped considering her point cost and her statistics. So a good ship if you're running out of cheap options for pirate ships, which you won't be, but she's a competitive option.
Yeah, I feel like this is what WizKids should have done more often with 10-point ships, but instead they went with like 3 cargo, 3S cannons, and +1 to boarding rolls, like maximum boring.
Yeah, let's throw a bunch of overpriced abilities on a mediocre ship and call it a day. The next ship is the damaged version of the Empress. I guess it's pre and post battle where they captured Elizabeth Swan, but also 3-masted junk. This one is 11 points and has S base move, not off to a good start. 4 cargo space, like the original. All 2S guns. If the ship has a captain crew, she gets +1 to her cannon rolls. So I guess kind of, if you're looking for a micro dreadnought, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I've always liked this version as well because, and this one is, you can make a solid case that this one is better because it has a better purpose, and
it's more focused.
Yeah, as long as you have captain and helmsman, your speed is still slow, but then you've got 3 1S cannons. So you're right, it is like a mini dreadnought. So in that case, it shines well in that role at least.
Do the pirates have one of those crew that let them target ships at L range?
I don't think so, no. Not that I've seen. Yeah, mostly.
Because it would almost be worthwhile on this ship if you used a captain and helmsman, but...
Yeah, maybe a custom crew or something. That guy, that ability would be solid on the Flying Dutchman, too. Oh, this set, of course.
Agreed.
The next one is Hanyu Pinyin, which is a 3-masted pirate junk as well. 10 points, 3 cargo, L move, 3L, 3L, 4L cannons. And if she shoots at a ship that was previously shot at by another ship this turn, she gets +1 to her cannon rolls against that ship this turn. So, yeah, just nothing exciting here. I kind of went over it fast because I know it's not a very interesting ship. So,
The artwork is almost a clone of Clear Wind, I think.
That makes
and so is the ability and stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, this it's kind of funny how close this is to a Jade Rebellion ship.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost the same. Yeah.
It's almost identical. Yeah, we've already talked about that ship in a previous podcast. Go download and listen to that episode.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode, but we don't need to talk too much about Hanyu Pinyin. Decent in a large group with similar ships, but otherwise, that's not a very good ship.
Yeah.
Next is Fuchuan, I think.
Yes.
I don't want to try to do a German pronunciation because that would be inappropriate. It's not a German ship either. I'm talking about language-wise. 4-letter words, 3-masted ship, worth 12 points. Its guns are 3S, 3L, 3S. Its cargo space is 3. Its base move is L, and I forget which sort of keyword was associated with this ability, but it's when she wins a boarding party, you can take as much treasure as you want. Yeah, this is another case of an expensive ability on a kind of average ship. This ship is probably worth like 9 at the most.
Yeah, I was thinking 8 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 sounds okay.
Yeah, hoarding gold is a solid ability, but you need more cargo and speed than this ship has to pull it off effectively. So
you need above average cargo, ideally like really good cargo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the Empress, both versions of Empress are better than both of these bluish junks here. So they're pretty forgettable. The next ship is not, though. The Hai Peng is a pirate 2-masted junk. It's 13 points, 4 cargo, S plus L move. Cannons are 3S, 4S. It's a junk, and if this ship has a captain crew, she gets plus L to her base move, which is a huge ability, even better than Constructible. So with a captain and helmsman, this ship becomes the fastest ship in the game with a base move turning into SL, which is crazy. And then this ship is kind of weird. At first glance, it doesn't seem too amazing, but if you pair it with Captain Jack Sparrow, who we'll see later, and Micron to give it extra actions, you can turn a fleet into a juggernaut. And basically, a lot of the best fleets of all time at the 40-point level use this ship in conjunction with Captain Jack Sparrow. Darren pioneered the universal pirate shipping idea, and that's a fleet concept. He's got like 4 versions of it. I made a UPS 5 version that won a tournament on Vassal, and one of those fleets actually won the 2nd tournament, so it's like the best fleet ever, essentially. So yeah, the Hai Peng, you have to use it with the right pieces, but if you do, it's unbeatable in a way, you can argue. So
yeah, Hai Peng I guess you could say it's sort of a Banshee's Cry tier ship. Despite being more than 4 times as expensive. And not to be anal about it, but this ship is even faster than SLSL, because what's been discovered is that via the use of rare Rise of the Fiends promotional crew, it's possible to get it to SLSLS. Yep. So it is technically the fastest ship in the game still. At one point, I made the foolish claim of thinking that I discovered a faster ship, HMS Gibraltar, which was capable of 5S move, which was slightly faster than SLSL, but then I think you or Wolf or someone pointed out that Hai Peng was still capable of more, but it wasn't quite as useful with that extra speed.
Yeah, you can get, I think it's because Jonah and then Griffin, or no, I don't know, there's some way to get them on the...
It was like Jonah and then that version of Calico Cat or something, and then Griffin and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Either way, this is, by virtue of being the fastest ship in the game, it has tremendous value. After Hai Peng is, I mean, we can sing the virtues all we want of that, but Ben's already laughing because he knows what I'm doing. I'm segueing into the next ship because we can sing all the virtues we want about Hai Peng, but we'll not do the same for Song, which is a 2-masted junk, 9 points, 3L, 4L guns, L move, 4 cargo. Each time this ship unloads gold at your home island, 1 treasure coin is worth plus 1 gold. Okay, decent ability on a ship with good cargo space, but it's a little slow and expensive to make use of that.
Yeah. I think the Sea Crane is very similar, but a little better. It's like SL speed with 3 cargo, and one of the cannons is a tiny bit better. So this song, though, is still a solid ship, just outclassed by competition. So not a bad option, though. The next one, can't have a pun for this one. Ningfo is a 2-masted pirate chunk. 7 points, 3 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3S, 4L. And the sniping ability, so you can double the range of the ship's cannons each turn, but you must roll a 6 to hit. I've used this like a couple times, I believe, and it's kind of just a fun novelty, like most of the other ones. For the same point cost, you can get Lake Coeur de Leon from South China Seas, one of my favorite French ships, which is far better cannons, same ability, cargo. So yeah, just kind of a fun novelty, but it looks kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. I sort of wonder if this would work well in a battle group with Le Coeur de Lion. I'm pretty sure this was named after a cargo ship from a James Bond film, You Only Live Twice.
Huh. Interesting.
Even though that's kind of, okay, it may just be a coincidence. Whatever. You said it pretty well. This is a not-so-good version of Le Coeur de Lion, which is one of the game's best chief gunships.
Yeah.
So... okay, I'm not even going to try to do a segue into the next one because it's Kin Tai Fong, and you could spot it from a mile away, me trying to do something there. And I have no ideas. So this is an 8-point 2-masted junk, still pirate, 3 cargo, L move, 3 L gun, and 4 S gun. This ship can't be pinned. Mediocre stats, ability that's not super useful. I would never use this ship, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know that I have, and if I did, it was just a huge game. Yeah, not much else to say. Really boring. They could make the speed LS, and it would probably still be worth 8 points. So, the next one is Cursed Captain Barbossa. So we're into the crew here, and this is the first crew we'll talk about from the movie. So this is one of my favorite features of the set. Not only the ships, but they had artwork for the named crew, and they really went crazy with it and included a lot of the minor characters too. So love that.
They named characters that actually weren't named before this, I think.
I know, that's crazy.
That were never named in the film.
Yeah, and the Jolly Mon even too, because that is like canon from the scripts or whatever they had it with. So yeah, I know. I think I had a little thing with Wolf one time about how Pirate CSG fans are actually probably know more about the Jolly Mon and how she has her name than some Pirates of the Caribbean fans. It's kind of funny. But anyway, First Captain Barbossa is the first pirate crew. He's rare, 5 points, and he's got Captain and then Fear. So it's a solid named captain as they go. There are better ones, which we'll see soon, actually. But Fear is 2 points here, which is actually, I think, the correct cost. So I think WizKids kind of wisened up to the Fear outcry with the unflinking 99 at 6 points. So it's a solid named captain, but the Pirates definitely have better.
Yeah, viable. Like if you pulled this in your first ever pack, he'd probably become a favorite and used forever, but he's appropriately costed, but that's not exactly high. I mean, I guess that sort of is high praise in the grand context of the game, but in the set, I wouldn't say so because there are some really great options. Captain Elizabeth Swan, who follows, is not necessarily one of those. She's just a plain Fleet Admiral crew, 6 points. You know, that ability being once at the beginning of each of your turns, roll a d6 on a result of 6. Any ship in your fleet may be given 2 actions that turn. I'm not an auctioneer. I just like to talk fast sometimes. That was fluff. And this is just kind of a generic crew.
Yeah, this one it's great in huge games, but tough to pull off. You're not going to get enough 6s in a 40-point game to justify the 6-point cost. So, and they did have John Laffite from Revolutionist 5. They got him at a discount. So, but if you use them both in a campaign game, that's a good idea. Next one is the first version of Jack Sparrow. They forgot the captain in front of his name. That was not my mistake, so you don't have to correct me on that. He's got 2 abilities. Just like the other versions of Jack, this one is super unique. All 3 versions we'll see are one-of-a-kind crew. And this one links to all pirate ships. He's 5 points, and he's got Harley. And when this ship when given an Explore action, if this ship chooses the last treasure coin from an island, this ship can be given a move action. So that's kind of an interesting little novelty. For 5 points, I think that's about right if Parley is around 3. I actually don't have this guy, this version of him, and I haven't used him on Vassal either. So I think there's some potential with that explorability, but I just haven't used it. And I haven't really heard about it being effective or other people using this version either. Probably because the other 2 versions are a lot more like powerful. So.
Well, also because this is a 5-point crew, and a lot of the time for gold running, you don't really gain all that much by spending a ton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the cost-benefit analysis, the more you spend does not necessarily get you a better gold runner.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not relative to the scaling of of warships. Like 3 points will get you Banshee's Cry, and okay, you can spend 11 points and get Libelule, which is really good, even better, but not nearly as good a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be spending 5 points on a crew for gold running, you're going to get limited value out of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this would be like the equivalent of having a really good action for a gunship, or not, a really good ability on a crew for a gunship, a unique one, but one that costs like 9, 10, or 11 points. It's like, ooh, it's good, but it's not cost effective.
Yeah, I just thought of a little combo. You could put him on maybe the Darkhawk 2, and then you would almost always choose the last treasure coins. Then you could get an extra action, and then Parley could help the ship be a hybrid, like with Hammersmith or maybe Captain Helmsman, and then use Parley more often than not. So a little combo of it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea, and that's a good observation that he's best on big ships that are capable of draining an island in one go. Mm-hmm. After Jack Sparrow comes Will Turner, and he's a captain with S-board, and that's kind of, I guess thematically it's not far off, but it's kind of uninspiring.
Yeah, it's not very unique. I don't
He's
think
7 points, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know that he should have had captain. He wasn't really captain until the end of At World's End, so a little bit unfitting maybe. But yeah, and Captain S-board for 7 is just kind of something they did a lot, so it's a little bit boring. But oh well. The next one is Pintel, and he's 3 points. Once per turn, this ship can randomly take 1 treasure from any ship she touches.
Not worth that much.
Yeah, no, it's 2 points, and through the ability cost survey, I think there's not a lot of responses yet. Hopefully, you guys will take that. Anybody who's listening, and I think 2 points was the poll answer so far. Fun fact: Lee Ehrenberg, who portrays Pintel, he was actually on an episode of Seinfeld back in the '90s. So kind of fun little thing for people who like Seinfeld and POTC, like myself. But anyway.
That's a really strange fact. I'm kind of wondering if somebody can do a mashup of the two. Of course, he won't be speaking in a thick pirate accent in that, but that might be worth like dubbing lines from his Seinfeld appearance over the film and seeing if it's funny or not. His counterpart, wooden-eyed fella named Ragetti, is an explorer for 1 point. I guess you can say he's technically better than a normal explorer because he has the option to link to a crew. Yeah. But the crew he links to is terrible. So okay, he's just an explorer.
Yeah. I think they could have done a little more, but oh well. I wish they had made him Ragetti at least separate from a generic crew ability. At least give him something else as well or something random. But anyway, the next one is much better. Tia Delma is a 5-point pirate crew. Once per turn, when crew or ship within S of the ship can't use its ability that turn. So the pirates finally get a canceller. This is their only one in the game. So this is actually a really important named crew for them, especially in some of the bigger games when you want to try to keep pace with the canceling arms race that sometimes occurs. But in general, Tia Delma is one of their best named crew. And I think it's good that they got a canceller. The biggest faction without one would be kind of weird.
Yeah, I think canonically, because of the duplicates rule, I don't think you can have Tia Dalma and Calypso in the same game.
That's an interesting one. Huh, I'll have to look that up.
Whether or not it's in there, they're technically the same character in universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Calypso was living cursed or trapped or whatever as Teodalma.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would say you'd have to be really thoughtful about. Oh, sorry, I was just wondering what that strange sound was.
Oh, no, it's
I
my
don't know if
computer.
anyone can hear it. No, there's something in my backyard.
Oh, yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I don't see Teodalma on the duplicates list, though, or no duplicates.
She probably should be there because Teodalma and Calypso are technically the same.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, this is a valuable ability, but at the same time, you're going to have to make your decision as to whether you want this or you want Calypso's ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, this is a funny one. I didn't actually realize this was a crew. Damsel in Distress is not a fair lady. It's literally just Rigetti and Drag from the first film when they were in the rowboat. 3 points, the Parley ability. This is kind of funny because I don't think I've ever seen this used, even like on miniature trading in a fleet, but I bet. Actually, wait, I wonder if there's somebody out there who can go for like an unused crew and ships kind of fleet that turns out to be good, because Parley's a powerful ability.
Yeah, it might have been used. I'll look that up too in a second. But yeah, Parley for 3, it's a solid deal. A lot of times Parley is tacked on to something else, like we saw with the first version of Jack Sparrow. So getting it for kind of like a bare minimum cost is a good one actually, and yeah, underrated I think. So should this be a no duplicates one too?
Ooh, that's a really
I think this
good
one
question.
even more so. I actually think Teodalma and Calypso would be more separate than this is just Rigetti, basically.
Yeah, it's just Rigetti and Drag. I guess they couldn't call him Dragetti.
Oh, nice. No, it's bring the puns. All right, so next one is straight pack filler. This card was not well done. Cursed Crew 1, it says, is kind of just a random skeleton, and it's just the Musketeer. So this is a disappointment. I think WizKids either should have just left this out or done something with the other stuff. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if there's any other characters they forgot, but this is just a waste.
Yeah, giving named crew, and I say that very loosely in air quotes, considering this is named Cursed Crew 1.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, couldn't they have come up with anything? Just call him Bobson Dognut or something.
Yeah, skeletal figure.
Skeletor.
Yeah.
Wait, what abilities would Skeletor have? Do your homework, kids. Post a comment, say what abilities you think Skeletor would have and why it's better than Curse Crew number 1. Yeah, Curse Crew 1, we agree Musketeers are a little bit overpriced, and the fact that it did bug me a little bit that they basically made generic crew named crew in this set.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, so Curse Crew 1 can, I'm going to say curse you, and your counterpart Curse Crew 2, whose art was taken from when there's like a poll of some kind run through these Curse Crew guys in the climactic fight scene in the first film. But he's just a cannoneer with a link to Curse Captain Barbossa.
Yeah. I think the other one links too, but it's still not that special. But,
I think so, yeah.
Oh, great. Well, we can do the other one quickly too, because the next card is a crew for 2 for more pack filler. Park is one of those, Asian or Jade Rebellion, you could say, girls from South Fang's little palace or whatever. If any crew with a point cost of 4 or less would be eliminated, eliminate Park instead. But that's silly because an oarsman does the same thing and doesn't take up cargo space. So
and cost less.
Yeah, Park is trash, I guess.
So is Leon, which is basically the same thing, but for it says point cost of 5 or more.
Mm-hmm. I love how with Leon they couldn't even get a good shot of her. Like, she's such a minor character. The portrait is terrible.
She's off center.
Yeah, and it's like
she's
blurry.
Such an unimportant character that they couldn't even find an on-center shot of her.
I know. I don't think they speak at all either, and like it's blurry too. Like it looks like a still from like somebody taking a picture of the from the movie rather than actual
Not even. It looks like she's been chosen from the side of a not particularly good picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a good segue because next is the Black Pearl. So totally 180 here. The first version of 3 Black Pearls is uncommon pirate ship. It's 4 masts, 17 points, 4 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3L, 2L, 2L, 3L. And if this ship has a captain crew, she gets +1 to her cannon rolls and +S to her base move, which is a fantastic ability because this is built to be a gunship. So with a captain and helmsman, you'll have LSS speed, and then the cannons are 2L, 1L, 1L, 2L, basically. So this is actually one of the best gunships in the game for the most part, especially at 4 masts, and especially for you're really maximizing speed and firepower, which are pretty much a gunship's 2 most important attributes. So this one is really a beast, and you could make a case that it's one of the top 10 to 20 gunships in the game.
And it's more than a gunship, because if you go the Hammersmith Jocard route, then, or technically you don't even need Jocard for this, but he helps. You've got yourself a ship that's both an excellent gold runner and an excellent gunship. It's expensive, but it'll be one of the best hybrids that you ever use. Because it'll be supremely capable in both roles. Then comes the damaged version of the Black Pearl, which isn't as good, but is still pretty solid. This is 13 points, so it's a bit cheaper. It has 4 cargo, SL move, 3S, 2S, 2S, 3S guns, and then crew can't be eliminated from the ship unless she sinks. A decent ability, decent guns, good speed, good cargo. Pretty well rounded, but not quite as good as her more expensive predecessor here.
Yeah, this one's very good. It's harder to max out the firepower, and she just falls a little bit short. But I think it's still fantastic ship. Definitely still one of the best pirate gunships. So it looks pretty cool too. Next one is Fleur de la Morte, which is another pirate 4-master, 14 points, 3 cargo, L move. Cannons are 4S, 4L, 4L, 4S. And she's got gold captured, so if she wins a boarding party, you can capture the crew on the enemy ship with the highest point cost, and then that becomes the cargo worth gold. Like you capture an 8-point crew, unload it at your home island, that's 8 gold for you. So a nice ability, but for the stats, it really falters because she doesn't really have any other actual strengths. Everything is either average or below average. So I think this is the only ship with the gold capture built in, if I remember correctly. And,
I think you're right.
Yeah, and she looks really pretty, and she's got a great ability, and then everything else just falls flat. So.
Yeah, this is like an 8-point. This is like an 8 or 9-point ship that, based on the ruling of Bonnie Peel, that the ability is worth 5. Yeah, so this is a 9-point ship with a 5-point ability, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm wondering if there's a rule you can come up with that if the ability is more than half the cost of the ship's base stats, then it's a bad ship.
Yeah,
maybe. We'll have to look at that in the future.
Yeah, there might be exceptions, and I know Xerix has used the Fleur a bunch in the past because he likes gold capture a lot. There are some.
Did he wipe the Fleur with you?
I don't know. I don't think in that game, but I can't remember. So, and he's used it in some of his games against his brothers. We're on the forum now, so that's cool. GW Darkhurst and Ginger Ninja. But yeah, there's some ways to make it pretty good. World Hater is almost essential. Calico Cat for same action twice would be a good one, but without making it 28 points, really piling on the crew, it's not gonna be too effective in games most of the time.
After Fleur de la Morte comes Wicked Wench, and Wicked Wench is another 4-masted ship, 15 points, all 3L guns, 4 cargo, L move, and then if the ship docks at a home island, this ship can dock at a home island and take as much treasure as she can carry. So this was an interesting one because she's expensive, reasonably well armed, decent cargo space, a little bit slow, powerful ability. I'd say she's not quite fast enough to get away without a fight. She'll be able to handle a fight, but you would still want more cargo space for this role, so you kind of need Jocard.
Yeah, or Hammersmith in general.
Yeah, Hammersmith and Jocard. Why not make the best of her? Make the best use of her strengths.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess they're not bad.
Yeah, that's a solid one. Or just Hammersmith and Oarsman. But yeah, I think it's a good ship. I think it's one of my favorite pirate ships overall. And this, I think Bendari was the one that informed me the first time a number of years ago. But this was actually the Black Pearl before she became the Black Pearl, I guess. So kind of yeah, kind of an interesting little factoid.
It's funny how there are canonically the same ship and crew and all that across different eras in multiple occasions in this set.
Yeah.
Because there are multiple historic versions of the same crew and then now of the same ship for the second time, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You must be glad I didn't intercept you there. I was almost chomping at the bit to do so, but the next ship is HMS Interceptor from Curse of the Black Pearl. It's an English 4-master, 14 points, 4 cargo, L move, 3S, 3L, 3L, 3S cannons, and the ship gets plus L to her base move if she has all of her masts, which is a great ability. Makes sense based on the movie. I have some really big time complaints to WizKids here. First of all, there's 2 gun decks on the artwork, which is bizarre because the Interceptor probably had between like 14 and 28 guns in the movie. And it should be probably a 2-masted square rigged or maybe 3 at most. So
I thought 3 at most too. I was going to bring that up, not to interrupt you, but Interceptor was considerably smaller than Black Pearl in the first film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she didn't stand much of a chance.
Yeah, shouldn't have been the same size.
No, not at all. And she's got a link to Admiral James Norrington, who's Captain World Hater, so a good combo there. The ship overall is pretty good. I have used her a number of times, and the speed is great because you can max it to LLS, but then if you get into a fight, you're going to be in trouble pretty quick. But it's still a very good ship overall, and the link is just about perfect, I think.
Yeah, because of its speed, it's notable, but something that hasn't been mentioned quite yet. I did a bunch of math. This is the fastest 4-masted ship in the game.
Wow.
Because if you use Griffin and a captain and a helmsman, you can get LLSS.
Wow.
Which,
that's as fast as the Haipeng before Griffin.
Yeah. So it's technically on par with the Haipeng there. There are a couple of ships that come pretty close to that. They can get LSSS. But the Interceptor is the fastest 4-master, and even if, and she has decent guns and cargo space left over after that, so you're always going to be able to make the first strike with this ship, and that's very important in how this game's turn-based combat works. If you outfit her well, you'll find a lot of success when you use her. And I just did that again because we were talking about HMS Success, which is a 9-point 4-masted ship, one of I think 2 or 3 that were ever released. By that I mean 4-masted ships below 10 points. The other one I can think of is HMS Caledonia.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, there might be another one. But HMS Success, 9 points, 3 cargo, L move, 4 S guns on the end, 3 L in the middle. On the turn the ship is pinned, eliminate 1 crew from the enemy ship. This is a strange one because I guess it's kind of a big... it's kind of, I guess, a cheap middling gunship that's kind of big for what you pay for it.
Yeah. It's similar to the Ballista from Spanish Main, that pirate ship.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's very similar, just not quite as good for the most part.
Yeah.
It'll probably survive longer because the cannons are a tiny bit better rank-wise, and it's got 1 more cargo, but it's not as good. But
it's slower, I think.
Yeah, it's a full S slower, so it's not as good as like at the suicide roll that she's better at.
Yeah. And you can put Spanish Main Hawkins on the Ballista and maximize its silly ability, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. Okay.
And I used to have 3 of HMS Success, but then I've traded away 2 of them, so now I have 1 left. And the next ship is Edinburgh Trader.
Hey!
Which could be my new nickname. But this one is an English 3-master, 11 points, 5 cargo, SS move. Cannons are 4L, 3L, 4L. And she's got ship treasure trading. So once per turn, if the ship carries treasures with an S-1 ship, you can randomly trade 1 treasure with that ship. Or you could trade HMS Success for the Interceptor. But this one, the ability, regardless of the ability, this is actually kind of an underrated English Gold Runner slash, kind of meh hybrid. I've actually used it in a decent amount of games, and she always performs pretty well. I think this is one of the more underrated English or just ships in general. Because like HMS Nautilus is way better as a gunship. They have better Gold Runners. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid ship. The L-range guns help you out. You've got solid attributes overall. And this is actually the ship that the Kraken destroyed when Will Turner came aboard. So, I don't know if that's there too. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, was that segue deliberate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, making sure. Because you didn't acknowledge it. But yeah, it's pretty well equipped for a British Gold Runner, I guess. Nothing amazing in the context of other factions. Got pretty artwork.
Yeah.
But
I guess in a 40-point game, she's a decent candidate for the Captain Helmsman crew, like Hermione Gold, Thomas Gunn. Because then you'd save a cargo and make her like a reasonable hybrid. Not great cannons, but serviceable.
Like usable if she has support.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not going to try.
I'll give you more time. I actually looked up Damsel in Distress, and it has been used in one fleet.
Really?
A long time ago. Yeah, it's from like 2010 or so. It's 94 points. It's exceedingly random, but it has technically been used, even though I don't know if it's even legal. It's kind of bizarre. But anyway, definitely something to try out. It's a Damsel in Distress. It's a pretty good crew, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, HMS Rose is next. No, I'm not going to try to come up with a silly segue for that. But HMS Rose is a 14.3 master, 3S, 3L, 3S guns, 4 cargo, L move. This ship's cannons can't be eliminated. Mass still can be if derelict. She can't shoot. So kind of HMS Dreadnought at, I guess, 3/5 scale at about 3/5 cost.
Yeah, it's just not going to survive as long.
Yeah, and I guess technically that ability scales in value on bigger ships.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe this ship is only worth 12 or 13.
I agree. Yeah, ships like this are a little disappointing to me because I've used stuff like this in the past a bit, and the Dreadnought is just more fun to use, and it's more of an extreme option. I think the Rose would be a lot more interesting with like all 2L cannons or something, really be a true Dreadnought. But in this case, with the 4 cargo, she's almost like pretending to be a hybrid when she's not that great compared to the Interceptor or even the Trainer above. So yeah, so I would resist using her overall. So HMS Resistance is the next ship, an English 3-master, 8 points, L move. All 3 cannons are 3S, and once per turn when the ship is an enemy ship, also eliminate 1 crew from that ship. So crew elimination. I think this is almost exactly a carbon copy of El Tirador from Spanish Main, which is a solid Spanish gunship. And here for the English, pretty good ship. This is about as basic, but also about as effective or normal as it gets for cheap 3-masted firepower overall.
Yeah, at 8 points, usable guns and beneficial ability, it's serviceable, and it's really you're really getting quite a lot for 8 points at a ship of that size. Even though you probably won't be fast enough to make to get the first shots in, you'll be able to exact revenge on the person who shot at you first, which is funny because the next ship is Revenge, and it's another cheap 3-master. This one's a pirate ship instead, though. It's 9 points, 4 cargo, L move, all 2S guns. Once per turn, the ship can move S after unloading cargo. After I talk about this, I'm going to have to run for a bathroom break real quick. But Revenge is, I guess it's sort of a hybrid. The ability is vaguely useful if you use it as a Gold Runner. It has the cargo to be used as a Gold Runner, but it's got the guns to be used as a warship. So it's kind of an okay hybrid deal, and I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This one is interesting to me because it kind of follows in line with some Spanish main ships, kind of like the HMS Resistance, El Ladrón, and the Recreant were also pirate ships, same ship type from Spanish Main. They were also 9 points, 4 cargo, L move, 2S gun and 2S cannons, and so anything different is the ability. So it kind of continues that line of pirate gunships that are pretty effective for their cost. I've used her as a gold runner, but she's better off as kind of a cheap hybrid option, if you will. And with this ship, I wouldn't necessarily try to seek my fortune, maybe with a better gold runner, but the fortune is actually the next ship, and it's a Pirate 3-master. It's a 9-point ship, 4 cargo, SS move. Cannons are all 3Ls, and when this ship hits another ship, you choose which mast is eliminated. So this one is also kind of an interesting ship, solid hybrid, maybe slightly more purpose-built as a gunship, but the cannons are a bit worse. So I think the Fortune is good. I like the Revenge better with those 2 S's, but the Fortune is still pretty solid. So
Yeah, the ability is more catered toward war than the Revenge is. It's the same cost and same cargo space. The guns are not quite as good, but the speed is better. I'm kind of amazed at how many cheap, good ships there are in this set.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, Fortune is definitely usable. You don't need to crew her up too crazy, and she's just decent overall. Leaves you with a sense of satisfaction. Which is the next ship, because that's what you can come to expect from me. Again, another 9-point 3-masted ship, but unfortunately, this one is not as good as the previous. This is 3 cargo space L move, and then 4 S guns on the ends, and then 1 and 3L in the middle. When this ship hits an enemy ship, you can also eliminate 1 cargo from that ship. This is a bad version of Asesino de la Nave, which you can get for 2 more points, so skip satisfaction.
Yeah, De La Nave is 12, but it's still way better.
Okay, 3 points. But yeah, it's...
Satisfaction is not satisfying at all. So, yeah.
Amen.
It's a very unfitting ability, so that's about it. Other than that, too, it doesn't have anything good going for it, really. Attributes are not good. So, do the next one, then I'll do a bathroom break, too.
Okay.
The Seraph is a pirate 3-masted galley. We're into the common ships now. 11 points, 4 cargo, SS move. Cannons are 3S, 2L, 3S, and along with galley, it gets +1 to cannon rolls and boarding rolls against English ships, which still isn't really a big deal, but I think this ship's a little underrated, maybe kind of like the Edinburgh Trader. With Hammersmith, you could make it kind of a hybrid. It's just got solid cargo speed and cannon, so it's a solid overall ship in general.
What this ship reminds me of with the cargo space and I guess some of the armament, this kind of reminds me of, I can't remember, I want to say it's Tiger's Eye from Barbary Coast, the really good 11 or 12.3 masted galley that's just stacked with good stats. But this is a little bit less good. Also, it's kind of funny how in miniature trading it says 3S, 2L, 3S, even though the first mast is visibly the 2L gun. It's an okay ship, for sure, but its problem is that it does have kind of shockingly good competition at this price from a much earlier set. It's definitely a useful ship, though. It's followed by Kirback, which is another funny kind of ship, because this is a 7-point 3-masted galley. All of its guns are 3L, its cargo space is 3, and its base move is L. So it's a pretty good firepower deal for its price, but it's that way because it has a negative ability, which is that if you roll a 1, you lose a mast. And I'm pretty sure there are other ships. I'm pretty sure this has another sort of a compatriot from Barbary Coast, as the Seraph did. But the Kirback is... I'm pretty sure that this is one of those ships that Ben has had really bad luck. Well, at least with the ability, if not necessarily the ship.
Yeah, it's a Black Mamba ship.
Yeah, but the Kirback, I want to say it reminds me of a ship from Barbary Coast, the way the Seraph does. I was saying the Seraph reminds me of Tiger's Eye, I want to say it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Kirkback, I want to say there's a similar ship in not Spanish, I mean Barbary Coast, but I can't think of what it'd be named.
We know Sheba might have the same ability, I can't remember. Or
Maybe.
One of the two masters does. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I think Kerback is actually a little underrated. I do hate the Black Mamba because she's awful, but with the Kerback, I haven't had my cannons backfire as much, so I think this is a strangely underrated gunship option. 12 points, LS move, with Captain Helmsman, of course, 3L guns, galley. I don't know, it's not too bad, so kind of a cool option, I think.
I think you were on the Seraph still.
No, oh yeah, I'm talking about Kerback now, yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the Pearl is not quite like the Black Pearl, but weirdly she has black sails as well. And pretty cool sails, actually. But this is a pirate 3-masted galley, 9 points, 5 cargo, S move. All 3 cannons are 3S, and along with galley, once per turn, the ship can look at 1 face-down treasure on any island. And this one I find a little bit underrated as well. The Splinter is better, kind of a similar ship from Fire and Steel, but the Pearl is kind of a fun little option if you're forced to use really slow ships. This could be a solid hybrid overall. It's got a lot going for it. Speed is the only problem, and of course, at the slowest base move, it's a big problem.
Yeah, I actually wrote a review on Pearl. I think this ship is so close to being good, like being really good. If it had an L base move, it would be just so good. But you have to, no matter how you use this ship, account for its terrible base move of S. Yeah. So you need a helmsman, and then once you put a helmsman on it, you're going to be questioning how you spend your points. Because if you get a cheap ship that has a flaw so major that it needs to be augmented, it kind of argues against using the cheap ship in the first place. Yeah. I compared Pearl to Raven's Neck, and while that might sound silly, if people read my review, they can figure out my justification for that. Basically, it's that when you fix Pearl's major weakness by throwing a helmsman aboard, you end up at 11 points with 4 cargo, SS move, and then 3S guns, and kind of the same ability as Raven's Neck, but Raven's Neck is bigger and better armed for 1 point more, has more cargo, and you haven't used up your helmsman, so Raven's Neck can be faster and still have more cargo. Yeah, it's comparable and kind of just worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a poor man's version of it.
8 points or an L move, it might be viable, but it's just not quite there.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on swiftly to Swift, which is a 9.2 masted galley, 4 cargo, L move, 2S, 3S guns, can dock and explore Wild Island using the same move action. Not bad, probably a little expensive. I would say this is probably worth 7 points.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Pun not intended that time, but but it's a solid ship overall. It's been used in the starting fleets of 2 campaign games already, but mostly because of the ability, probably. But I think it's a good candidate for Hammersmith. I mean, he's a good candidate for a ton of ships, but yeah, in this case, you could have kind of a mini hybrid. So it's a good ship overall. Definitely not one to overlook in the pirate fleet. But it's maybe not quite as good as the Otter, which is the next ship. And this one is a pirate 2-masted galley as well. 10 points, 4 cargo, L move. Cannons are 3L, and L range cannons can't hit this ship. So nice defensive ability. I wanted to talk about this one before the podcast started. I was actually thinking about this one. I think it's underrated. We're kind of into like that kind of niche where the ships are underrated. They didn't appear in the movies, and they're kind of forgotten about because there's just so many pirate and English ships in the set that things like the Otter get left behind. And in this case, I think you've got another solid hybrid. You've got good cargo, solid cannons, defensive ability, and the ability to get gold and fight a little bit at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. You know me, my meme is comparing every 2-masted ship to Executioner. But even so, I think Otter compares pretty well. Like, okay, Otter's more expensive, slower, and not as accurate, but Otter does have one major defensive ability, which at least partially justifies the cost. I think Otter would have been better remembered at 9 points, but isn't necessarily any worse at 10.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you figure out the right, say if you're playing a big game and you figure out the right fight to send Otter to, she'll probably outperform her cost, as high as it is for such a small ship.
Yeah.
Yep. This podcast does drag on. Yeah, that was forced because
I didn't even get it at first. That's a good one.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of a pretty well stacked ship, Dragon is a 6.2 masted galley. Both masts are 3S guns. Base move is S plus S. Cargo space is 5, and you get all of these decent traits because English ships get +1 to their cannon rolls against their ship. Statistically, it's all pretty much there. This is like sort of 2/3 of Tiger's Eye, right? But with a negative ability and a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, I think it's more comparable to like the Star of Siam or some of the other pirate gold runners, which it's similar to with a helmsman.
Yeah. You know what you could do? You could just put a plain old captain on this. I wouldn't do Hammersmith. Yeah. I would do plain old captain, maybe a helmsman, and you've got yourself a fast little hybrid that can take a lot of gold and maybe even lend some firepower.
Yeah, it's definitely a good ship. I think it compares favorably. I was surprised by how good it is compared to like Bloody Jewel, Bonnie Liz, Star of Siam. It's actually very similar once you put the helmsman aboard. I think I've only used it as a gold runner, not so much hybrid, but either role would be pretty good for this one. So another case of negative abilities making a ship a lot better. So, it's not a comet, but the next, I don't even know.
That didn't even quite work.
Oh, no, I know. I was trying to think of something quick, but then I couldn't, so.
Well, comets are quick.
Yeah, HMS Comet. It's an English 2-master, and it's not a galley, though. This is a square-rigged ship. It's 7 points, 2 cargo, L move. The cannons are 2L, both of them, and she's got the Explorer ability built in. So this is kind of an enigma. You want to use it as a hybrid because you've got great cannons and an Explorer, but you only have 2 cargo. So unless you use Hermione Gold or Thomas Gunn from Rise of the Fiends to combine Canada and Helmsman, one cargo space, you can't really do a hybrid role with it. So she's better as a pure gunship, in which case 12 points is pretty pricey for what you're getting at that cost. So
it says 7 points, though. Is that a misread?
No, I'm thinking Captain Helmsman for 12.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then you could get HMS Nautilus for 1 more point and more durability and firepower. So
and speed, same speed, but HMS Comet, I think, would be more competitive at this price with 3 cargo.
Yeah.
I think HMS Comet should have at least 3 cargo. At 4, it would be quite memorable, but as is, you've got a ship that's kind of a one-trick pony. It's a cheap-ish support gunship for the English, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah. Even then, they do kind of have better options. I know some people will hound me for saying that, but I think HMS Hound may be an example, because HMS Hound is another 7.2 master. Its guns are not comparable. They're 3 S's. They're not 2 L's. But this is 4 cargo and SL move. And the abilities, once per turn, the ship can look at 1 face-down cargo on any ship. This is kind of a weird one, because it's an auxiliary ship that is, I guess, usable in any role, technically. Yeah, you can put a cheap named captain on it or something, or just a plain captain. You've got yourself a quick little sport gunship. Or you could do First Mate Ismail plus a helmsman, and you could have a really quick gold runner for the English, although that's getting kind of expensive.
Yeah, I think this ship is one of the best English 2-masters and one of their best gold runners overall. But it is a good candidate for a captain. You still have 3 cargo, got some good guns, a nice ability to help you spy UTs. You could try to raid enemy gold runners with that ability. Overall, I'd say the Hound is one of the best small English ships out there. So, and she might have blazing speed for the English, but HMS Blazer does not. This is a 2-master with a 7-point cost, 3 cargo, L move, cannons are 3L, 3S, and the ship can't be pinned. Unlike the Hound, this one just pales in comparison. Slower, less cargo. Ability is just kind of irrelevant for the most part, so the Blazer is very forgettable. Kind of like the Kintai Fong.
Yeah, whereas you're on fire. You're on fire tonight. He'll be here all week, ladies and gentlemen. And back to the next episode of the podcast. But HMS Blazer is, this is a really boring ship with a boring ability. And at 5 points, people would still forget about this ship. It's not a ship that I fancy. But the next ship is not particularly fancy in itself, despite its name, which is fancy, because it's an 8.2 master. We're back to pirates now, I guess. 2 cargo, L move, 3S, 3L. Can unload cargo at your home island if she's within S of it. I guess if you really want to throw this into a mercenary fleet and use her as your unloading ship, okay, do it. But nah, no thanks.
Yeah, this one is super boring and just, I don't know, she could be a lot less expensive. I think even 4 would kind of work, crazy as that might sound. The only reason I would board the Fancy is to set sail and try to catch some dolphins, which is the next ship, is the pirate ship Dolphin. 2-master, common as well. 7 points, 3 cargo, SS move, cannons 3L, 4L, and crew elimination. So once per turn when the ship hits an enemy ship, also eliminate 1 crew from that ship. This one is, it's kind of tough. I've wanted to use it. I've tried, but the firepower is not quite there, and it's decent, but just, I don't know. I feel it reminds me of what you said about the Pearl. She's a tiny bit faster or better guns away from being quite usable, but she's not all there.
Yeah. I want to say, does this ship look like Hades Realm or Bloody Jewel to you?
Yeah, Hades Flame, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really weird looking ship. It's got crimson red sails and a ghostly white hull. It's cool looking.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a forgettable ship considering the artwork. Dolphin's main problem is that she shares the faction with Executioner. 1 more point, you get more cargo, better guns, and the same ability.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, because they're just so similar. Dolphin is the I can't afford the 1 extra point for Executioner.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to be a smart aleck with the next one. Paradox is the next ship on the list. This is one of the cheaper ships in the game. Paradox is a 4.2 master with 2 3S guns and 5 cargo, and S move, cannot shoot when she carries treasure. So statistically, this is a very strange ship. I'm inclined to use her only as a gold runner. Just drop a helmsman aboard.
Exactly. Yeah, me
She's too slow to use as a support gunship, even though she has 2 3S guns.
Yeah. Yeah, 5, maybe a hybrid, but you can't fit the captain effectively, so yeah. But this is a really good ship. It's a rare ship that has more cargo spaces than points that she costs you, so that's always a hallmark. That's always a hallmark of a good cheap ship. So this one is actually a very good Pirate Gold Runner overall. So that being said, with her speed, you wouldn't want to put a princess aboard trying to protect her. The princess is the next ship. It's a Pirate 3-master, so we're now into some common 3s. This one is only 6 points, 4 cargo, SS move, cannons are 3S, 4L, 3S, and the ship can't load the last treasure from an island. And as Wolf has pointed out at least once, this ship is basically just a poor man's version of the Longshanks, which is almost exactly the same, but has a 3L cannon in the middle and SL speed. So it's just a direct downgrade. That being said, the Longshanks was a little bit too good, especially because the no duplicates rule wasn't around at the very beginning. But anyway, but the princess, without the Longshanks around, the princess can do pretty well, actually. She's not too bad overall.
Yeah, this is a funny ship where if you lost the 4L gun in the middle, you would be looking at this ship, as a 2-master and going, wow, this is pretty good. Why don't I hear much about it? I guess the 4L gun in the middle just makes us go, the guns are so good. The guns are usable.
Yeah.
The speed is usable. The cargo space is usable. And the point cost is rock bottom. You can use this as a dirt cheap hybrid and be reasonably successful with it.
Yep.
The next ship is Ranger. We're looking at a 9.3 master here. Ooh, a little burp there. 4S, 3L, 4S, 3 cargo, SL move, and then treasure trading. So this is significantly worse than the last ship we talked about because that ability is overpriced. The only real strength this ship has is 1 3L gun and SL speed.
Yeah, speed is the best part here. Island treasure trading is way better than ship treasure trading, which is almost useless. But the Ranger is not a great ship. It's kind of in between. I feel like the Princess is maybe more of a gold runner than a gunship. The Ranger is really caught in between. So she really struggles to have a role, and therefore she's going to be left into the dust most of the time. So the next one is the Centurion, which is a Pirate 3-master, 10 points, 4 cargo, L move. Cannons are 2S, 3L, 3L. And when this ship hits another ship, you choose which master is eliminated. This one strikes me as just a solid pirate gunship. Not huge, but pretty solid firepower. And between the cargo and a nice little, not a big deal, but a little nice offensive ability to help cement her role as a gunship. A little bit of a hybrid, but mostly just cheap firepower.
Yeah, that's a good description of Centurion. You see the cargo and you kind of want to use her as a hybrid, but we've seen so many cheaper ships that do that a little bit better in this set among the pirates that I couldn't really advocate using Centurion as a hybrid,
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm not raving mad about her, but yeah, she's decent. HMS Raven is the next ship. Yeah, I did that on purpose. That was also one of my worst so far tonight. HMS Raven is 10 points, and at 10 points you're getting 4 cargo, SS move, and all 3L guns. There's also a +1 to cannon rolls against pirate ships, but that's not particularly valuable. Take away that ability, and you're still left with a really pretty good ship.
Yeah.
Because those are good guns. That's an average base move. That's good cargo space, and that's a competitive cost. Yeah, I'll take 3.
Yeah. The Raven is kind of similar to the Centurion, actually. So yeah, pretty solid gunship in English. Something like HMS Nautilus is better, but there's better options anyway. So if I was a Raven, I would probably, as long as I could fly, I wouldn't be too scared of being eaten by a hyena.
Yeah,
which the next ship is.
I could see that one coming from a mile away.
Yeah, HMS Hyena is an English 3-master and one of their absolute best, actually. 9 points, 5 cargo, SS move, cannons are 3S, 2L, 3S, and on the turn the ship is pinned, eliminate 1 crew from the enemy ship. I've had this one for a while, and she is excellent. This is one of the best English hybrids. You could make a reasonable case that she could maybe be the best English hybrid in the game. HMS Dover is fantastic for 1 point more. For this one, usually Captain Helmsman. You could do the combo crew from Rise of the Fiends if you want.
Thomas Gunn.
Yeah, maybe an explorer, maybe an oarsman, but overall, this ship is just fantastic at whatever you assign her to.
Yeah, I would do Thomas Gunn and I guess an oarsman just to save him in case in case you're in an engagement that you're not the victor of. More on that later. I'm a big fan of the Hyena as well because she is so well stacked with stats and a decent ability. And yes, one of the simple combination crew like Thomas Gunn would be the perfect fit because then you've got enough cargo to empty an island, you've got speed, you've got guns.
What more can you ask
with that combination, you'll be the victor in any engagement. Speaking of which, HMS Victor is next. This is another 9.3 masted ship. Another pretty well balanced one. Not as much balance, but focused in this case, I would say. 9 points, 3L, 2L, 3L guns, 2 cargo, SL move. This ship can repair at any sea or at sea or any island, not any sea. Unless you're making some strange rules about repairing in different areas of the game board.
Yeah, I could do that in my games.
Oh no.
Okay.
That'll turn into like a touch football sort of thing, I feel like, or capture the flag.
Huh.
Oh, wait a minute. Playing capture the flag would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Has anybody tried that?
Probably. Just not recently, maybe.
Capture the flag or capture the flagship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. Actually, capture the flag. I'm interested in trying that out. HMS Victor is, we actually already talked about the stats. This is a really good ship. Captain and helmsman and maybe oarsman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 2 cargo is just enough for a gunship. In this case, I think it's one of England's best 3-masted gunships. Probably better than HMS Nautilus. Maybe. Well, you can make a case, but yeah, up to SLS speed with very good firepower. So, I just realized this is kind of bizarre because with 2 cargo, you could get up to 4 generic crew keywords with captain, helmsman, oarsman, and then it's got shipwright built in. So despite the lack of cargo, you're going to have a lot of abilities available. So that's kind of neat.
Well, I mean, if you felt like using one of the combo crew, then wait a minute. If you went Hermione Gold, and Trevor Van Tyne, and then an oarsman, you could have. Okay, hold on. That would be captain, helmsman, musketeer, shipwright, oarsman. Is that 5 there? That's 5, and you still have 1 space left.
Wow, that's Explorer. I mean, there's no point, but still.
Explorer,
just to say you did
it. Since the ship is fast, or alternatively a cannoneer, because it's technically kind of a gunship.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. Yeah, so HMS Victor is even better than we thought it was.
I actually have to write down that combo just so I can kind of joke about flooding one ship with almost every single generic crew.
I know. And it's even more amazing with the lack of cargo. Like, most people would think, 2 cargo, that's a limiter. But with the gunship, I always say, 2 is all you need a lot of times. So you don't have to go crazy with extra action stuff, especially with smaller ones.
Is sometimes superfluous because it drives up the cost, but doesn't always drive up the effectiveness of the ship.
Exactly. Yeah. So 2 is all you need a lot of times with gunships, especially the smaller or cheaper ones. And this would be a solid flotilla tog if you didn't do the helmsman. So next one is the first English crew of the Commons. Lord Cutler Beckett is a 6-point English crew. He links to all English ships. And same ability as Elizabeth Swan earlier. Once at the beginning of each of your turns, roll a d6, and a result of 6, any ship in your fleet can be given 2 actions that turn. And I sometimes speak fast. But Beckett is great, really. Like I said earlier,
he links to all English ships, so he's above average for a fleet admiral.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's the second one, because Cargo from Crimson Coast is their other one, as I call him anyway. So that gives them a decent advantage over some factions in the big campaign games, and I think it's really fitting. I think they did him well, because Beckett he's not really up close and personal, like sword fight, tactician or whatever, so I think it's a fitting ability they gave him as well. Yep.
Yeah, he's a snotty little coward, and I enjoyed watching him die.
I think it's great. I thought it was funny.
This next one is Calypso, and this is one of the really unique crew in this set, because for 6 points you get this ability. At the beginning of each of your turns, roll a d6. On a result of 4 to 6, instead of giving this ship an action, choose 2 whirlpools from outside the game. Put 1 L away from the ship and 1 L away from a wild island. Neither can be placed so that it touches any island or ship. This ship does not have to roll for effect when she uses a whirlpool. So this is protection from Davy Jones in crew form, and sort of a navigator, but for whirlpools.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
This is a really, really strange but remarkably powerful crew.
Yeah, this is the only time this showed up in the game, so she's super unique, and I think they did her well too. It doesn't make quite as much sense with the movie, but it still makes sense. And I actually just added this to the list of like big game pieces to discuss in more depth later on, because this is crazy with Home Island Raiders, with like fast flagships with extra actions flying out of a whirlpool, using her on the Zeus. It's pretty scary. So there's a lot to do with Calypso, and I've made a few fleets with her too, one of which I hope to use soon. So more on that later, definitely in a later episode. And she was actually, it's like a fight over there or something.
There are children playing in the backyard.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But Calypso was actually in love with Captain Davy Jones, who's the next crew. This is a pirate crew for 7 points, and he's also unique. He's got fear. Each time any crew would be eliminated, roll a d6. On a result of 6, put that crew on this ship instead. It is linked to Davy Jones. And what it doesn't say is that you can use the abilities. The crew is just part of that ship, so that's a really big one. And then also, if a Kraken is in your fleet, Davy Jones can declare a ship a target of the Kraken, and it says, see Kraken rules. This was probably not a good idea. This is incredibly confusing and bizarre, and only showed up on this guy, so this whole targeting thing is just, I think it's more trouble than it's worth, but overall, as a named crew, I think he's pretty good. None of his abilities are really essential, but if you put him on a big flagship, or house rule him to work on a Curse 10 Master, for example, he can be pretty effective in a bigger game.
I mean, he's basically a necessity anytime you use a Kraken or Octopus, because he adds so much, utility to them. I'm pretty sure that his first 2 abilities are close, if not identical, to those that appeared on Wraith in Savage Shores.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Wraith was like 9 points in that set.
Wraith got Fear and then Massacre in OE, and then he got the 4-point crew on a 6 ability in Savage Shores, but only on that, or only that.
Yeah.
Savage Shores, so.
Yeah, so in other words, Wraith is kind of a not very good version of Captain Davy Jones, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I think his second ability is probably one that's kind of underrated, and I'm wondering if there are more ways to capitalize on it. It's certainly, add this to the list of things that would be broken by Nemo's plans and Runes of Thor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, technically, an entire game is broken if somebody gets their hands on both, but whatever.
I have a whole fleet around using him and Wraith in the same fleet. It's basically a lot of crew elimination all at once. So there's one really nasty combo I'll talk about another time. But anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of really nasty, the next crew is Captain Jack Sparrow. He is as much of a Deus Ex Machina in the game as he is in the film. He's 6 points. He's linked to all pirate ships. This ship can move and shoot. Okay, he's captain, and when this ship is given an explorer action, you can swap a treasure on the wild island with a crew on any friendly ship. I'm going to let you explain to people who aren't familiar why this is broken.
Yeah, so basically this is part of the universal pirate shipping strategy, pioneered by Darren, and or at least invented by him, certainly. And basically you can put Captain Jack Sparrow on the High Pang with a helmsman, go out to an island really fast, or maybe even Hidden Cove out there, and then when you get an explorer action, you swap a treasure on the wild with a crew on any friendly ship. But the key is you can have cheap little ships with base move of at least S+S, so they can redock at your home island, and then you toss the coin to them, like a teleportation effect, basically, and then they unload the coin immediately. So it's like, you basically, if you pull out this strategy right, you don't really have to bring gold back to your home island, you just flip it. And then what makes it even more broken is that you can put Don Pedro Gilbert or Captain Blackheart, like a sack crew, on the ship with Captain Jack Sparrow, and then the crew that comes aboard the ship can then be sacked for even more speed and extra actions next turn, so then you can repeat the process even more often as the game goes on by sacking the crew that were at your home island, and then they get flipped out to Sparrow. So it's just totally ridiculous. And Wolf said that there was potentially zero playtesting with this crew, basically, or if any at all, it was very little, because they really did not think this through, and they didn't see all the combos here. So if you exploit this guy, that's pretty much how to win. Best fleets of all time use Captain Jack Sparrow as the centerpiece, and Xerix and I proved in Vassal Tournaments 1 and 2, and especially number 2, that most of the best fleets ever use this guy. So if you want to just totally trash your opponents, you pretty much need this guy to win like almost every game. And if they're not ready for it, you could pretty much win all the time. So it's just ridiculous. Yeah. And he's got a link to all pirate ships. It just adds insult to injury. So it's crazy. Because the High Peng with their cargo and with this guy in a helmsman oarsman, you can actually load up if you need to. If you run out of crew, that's what happens in the UPS fleets. You run out of crew to transfer, but then the High Peng has enough cargo, especially with the link, to just run all the way home with super speed. So it's just crazy.
Yeah. Because you did most of the explanation on that, I'm gonna leap onto Will Turner, the next crew, go out of order. Sorry to confuse y'all, audience. This is another version of Will Turner. 2 of them in this set, maybe more. I'm not keeping track. He is 6 points, and he's a captain with +1 to boarding rolls. I think this is more important for other factions, so he's not particularly good for the pirates.
Yeah, no, this one's just boring. I guess the Captain S board is due, but it's slightly more interesting, and we all know about like +1 to boarding rolls, especially at more than 2 points. So, oh well. He got a little bit shafted in this set, could argue, but well, he got 2 named captain versions, so not too bad. Just not very interesting compared to Sparrow or Barbosa or Davy Jones. So next one is his mate, Elizabeth Swan, a 3-point pirate crew with just the reroll ability. So standard crew, and I'm gonna go to the bathroom again, so you can just keep on.
Yep, she's boring. She's not worth talking about. Up next is Captain Sao Feng, who's a normal D6 extra action. So on a 5 or a 6, you can get an extra action. He's 5 points. That's nothing all that special. He has a link to Empress, not the Tiger. I think the ship. I'm not sure if it's both or if it's just one. Probably both. And Lian and Park, those 2 useless crew we talked about earlier. He's probably useful on Empress and maybe not many other places because there are better deals on extra action that you can get. I'm pretty sure that Calico Cat from Ocean's Edge, you could get extra action and captain for 6. So Sao Feng is not particularly useful. And that version of Calico Cat might link to all pirate ships, I'm not sure. After Sao Feng comes Captain Barbosa, not the cursed version. This is 7 points, and this is a simple Captain World Hater. We've already talked about how valuable that is, and he's got links to Black Pearl. I don't remember which version. I'm guessing the pre-damage version. And High Peng. Maybe it's canonically all versions of the Black Pearl. I'm not sure. I'll ask Ben when he gets back. He's linked to the High Peng, but despite his abilities being in theory useful, it's not the best use of the High Peng, as we outlined already. I'm now stalling for time because I don't want to get too far ahead. So I guess I'll talk about the other factions that got similar crew to this in previous sets. The Spanish and I believe the English got Captain and World Hater combos in Mysterious Islands with Hermione Gold and Luis Zuan, I want to say.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, does this version of Barbosa link to all versions of Black Pearl or just, say, the pre-damage version?
Yeah, it would do all, because it doesn't really specify, so yeah, that would work. Yeah, I mean,
the other thing I was going to ask was Captain Sao Feng. I was pointing out the existence of Calico Cat Ocean's Edge as kind of just a better option.
Yeah.
Does she link to all pirate ships, or do I have that wrong?
Not that I remember, but I could have it wrong. I'm not good at memorizing links, so yeah. I don't think so, but maybe. Yeah, Feng is still good, especially in bigger games. We've already used Cat, and yeah, Barbosa and Norrington, just fantastic named crew, and some of my classic favorites that I fell in love with early on. So, and they have good links too. All the links are pretty decent, if not great. So, and yeah, Captain Sao Feng, he does make the Empress a slightly better option, especially the faster version as like a hybrid maybe. So
The next crew up, would you like to start?
Yeah, is it Norrington or no?
It is.
Cool. Yeah, Admiral James Norrington, pretty famous. I saw him in the Kingsman movie, and I was like, immediately, I was like, oh my god, 'cause it just made me think about Pirates of the Caribbean like right away. So, this is an English 7-point crew, pretty much an English version of Barbossa. So he's got Captain and World Hater for 7. And yeah, like I said, they're both fantastic name crew for their respective factions. And Norrington links the Interceptor and the Dauntless, which makes sense. And both of those ships are good ships to use them on, because they could both be very good gunships or even hybrids.
Yeah, he's kind of a parallel to the Captain World Hater we were just talking about. Those are both really very good ships. The Interceptor's may be less useful for him because the Interceptor is kind of best set up to be like the fastest ship in the game, I think, or the fastest Form Master in the game. But if you don't feel like using it that way, then he's not a bad place to be stationed. Now we're getting into unique treasures, and the first of which is Jack's Piece of 8. When a face-up crew on the ship would be eliminated, turn it face down instead. So it's the Doctor ability on a unique treasure. There were some really unoriginal UTs in this set.
Yeah, I think it's okay because some of them are worse because they're just straight up clones of earlier ones.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, some of them are like good clones, like some of them are good, some are like really good, and some of them are.
Yeah, this one is. I think it's kind of interesting because you can get a decent crew ability totally for free. But that being said, I haven't really used it, and I don't know if I've really even loaded it. I probably have, but it didn't really affect the game. Davy Jones' Heart. No enemy ability can affect this ship or her crew. This is a clone of Holy Water from Davy Jones' Curse. And like we said then, this one is actually quite complex. Wolf, not until, I want to say last year or the year before, did he fully, because nobody had asked, I guess, detail what these things really do, because they protect against certain abilities and not others. So it's pretty complicated, and you basically need the pirate code handy to use these UTs, this one in Holy Water. So I kind of shy away from them because it gets kind of confusing in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not one I think I'd use just because I don't see like cancelers used all that often. And even if I did, what's the point of a UT like this and not something more effective or more damaging?
Yeah.
Just anything more interesting.
Yeah.
Next UT is Jack's Compass. This is a clone of Homing Beacon from Ocean's Edge, and for those who don't remember, the text of that is load this treasure face down. You can reveal it when you give this ship a move action and can draw a straight line that does not cross a game piece, terrain, or other island from this ship's bow to your home island. Dock the ship at your home island. It's a pretty good one for treasure runners, and because it's technically not the same piece as Homing Beacon, you can use both this and Homing Beacon in the same game.
Yeah.
But still, I'm like, meh.
Yeah, it's okay. It's solid, but not amazing. So, you kind of have to get lucky with what island you find it on, because then you could either have a lot in your way, or you could get a quick trip home, and then save move actions. But the next one is another clone. I forgot how many of those there were. Pirata Codex is a UT that says, when revealed, remove all face-up unique treasure from the game. If such a unique treasure, change the value of a treasure coin. That coin regains its printed value. This is a clone of Karmic Idol from South China Seas, and I'm not a big fan of either of them because I basically consider them fun killers. So, UTs spice up the game, and a lot of times face-up UTs can really be interesting. So it just knocks them all out. So it's kind of like,
yeah, it's like a no fun allowed thing. It's like something that you would, the reason why you would use this is if there's somebody, say at your, if you're doing a tournament and you know that you're in like a group of tryhards who love to do like game breaking UTs, you bring this and Karmic Idol out and you just shut it down.
Yeah.
Oh great, Mr. Runes of Thor, Nemo's plans is back again. Good thing I brought my 2 no fun havers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess strategic, kind of funny. They're viable in a sort of funny, I don't trust the community of this game way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. After Pirate Codex, we're getting into this funny little section where there are cards that both have named crew and unique treasures on them. So they've got sort of an A and B side, and the unique treasure is on the B side. They're like a standard generic crew card in that you've got your square tile and your 9 coins, but on the B side is where the text for the unique treasure is and where the artwork for it is. On the A side, you look and it's just the normal gold back to a coin. The first of these is Macus and Elizabeth's piece of 8. I'll talk about Macus first, who is just he's the hammerhead shark kind of cursed crew character, and he's just a plain captain.
Oh, well.
Yeah, not much to say about him.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's piece of 8 is next, and the ability of this unique treasure is you may give an action to any pirate ship instead of giving this ship an action. So, in other words, this is Lord Micron in unique treasure form.
Yeah, for the pirates, but yeah, it's still quite powerful because you don't have to pay for it. This is an interesting way to kind of mess with somebody who uses the pirates kind of too much because they're kind of overpowered and, Banshee's Cry and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's a good little counter to that. Of course, you still have to find it first because if they find it, they have like their own little micron for their fleet only. So this one is potentially quite powerful, but the faction limiter is a good one to prevent it from being totally broken. So, and the next double card, I think that was a good way to fit more stuff into the set because I think they did a pretty good job with the UTs, even if it's maybe a bit much. I like when they stuff more things onto the card because you don't really need all 9 coins. Jimmy Legs is the next crew, and he's got the stack ability. Once per turn, you can eliminate one of the ship's crew to give her an extra action. He costs 3 points, which is a little more in line with what stack could have costed compared to 2, which is super cheap for how good it is. This is just the pirates having an embarrassment of riches because they already had 2 sack captains, amazing ships. Jimmy Legs just makes them even better as a faction. So just kind of the rich getting richer mostly. And the next one is the treasure, Davy Jones's key. And it says swap Davy Jones' key with 1 face-down treasure on any other wild island. So this was actually discovered early on in Vassal Campaign Game 4, like last weekend, our first session, and I think it got swapped for the Wolves UT or something.
I was just gonna say, what if it got swapped for a really bad UT?
Yeah, it was pretty nasty. And it's one I haven't used enough. I'd like to use the key more often. It sounds boring, but it could actually flip a game if you get lucky or really unlucky.
Yeah, this is one that I like to think if you wanted to just sabotage the game board with bad UTs, you could use this. But I'm sure there's something more effective than this if you want to ruin your opponent's game.
Yeah.
So kind of meh to me. It's like, why would you use this instead of either something more interesting or a normal gold piece?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of just to change it up, kind of flip things around.
Next up, WizKids reverts to making boarding bonuses 2 points because Palafico is 2 points and gives a boarding bonus. Not that interesting. No link, so unlike I think it's Bloody Jake or something from Crimson Coast, not that good.
Yeah, I feel like he used to be 4 points in the database, but it's good he's 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
Maybe he is 4 points on the card. Maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, somebody out there check. And his UT that he's paired with is Pirate Globe, which is identical to Maps of Alexandria from Barbary Coast. And that ability, or it's not an ability, that effect is, when revealed, turn all treasure on all wild islands face up for the remainder of the game, then remove Pirate Globe from the game. This one is a game changer. Like, every time I've seen that, every time I've seen it come up, it just throws a monkey wrench into things.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It showed up. It's in a few of the fleets from Vassal Tournament number 2, the competitive 40-point fleets, and when it showed up, you were basically you can use this to pretty much keep track of the score. So you can do really intense strategizing over, the financials of the game, calculating what your opponent has, what you have, what's in the forts, and stuff like that. So I use this to my advantage in some of those games, but it's definitely an interesting one. You could make a decent case that it's a fun killer as well because it eliminates all the mystery and the intrigue around exploring, but oh well. And I will say, if I was trekking around the globe, I would want to not forget my bootstraps at home. Bootstrap Phil Turner is the next crew, and he's a pirate 2-point crew because he's just a helmsman. So disappointing, but he didn't really have big parts in the movies, so I'm not really sure what they could have done with him, but oh well.
I mean, he was a major character, but not really one who had a clear role on the Dutchman, so I guess there's only so much he could do.
Yeah.
His UT, though.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Isn't this one a clone of another UT?
Not quite. Pension is worse because it's only on the ship, not any in your fleet, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Dead Man's Chest says, when Dead Man's Chest is unloaded at your home island, you can eliminate any number of crew in your fleet. Each is worth 1 gold. So this one is pretty powerful, potentially. And if you're wondering if it's can be broken, Lord Stew made a fleet a while back. It was part of like a UT challenge or something like that. And you can break it if you have at least 16 like oarsmen or crew, like 16 oarsmen in a 40-point game. Under the standard rules, you can technically flip this or unload it, I should say, and then eliminate all 16 crew, and then it gives you like an instant win. But you have to get lucky enough to find it first and not get intercepted on the way back by HMS Interceptor, the fastest 4-master in the game. And this one is kept face up, so you can't hide it. So it usually doesn't work too well, but if you can pull it off, it's kind of a way to win in a really fast, bizarre, and like shocking fashion. So you can be like, "Oh, the game's over," and your opponent's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
So.
Okay, something I'm wondering about this is I've heard some kind of. I know this came up because it had something to do with SAC and Doctor Crew and the ship's crew cannot be eliminated kind of stuff. Well, if you put a Doctor Crew on the ship that was carrying 1 trillion oarsmen, could you, in theory, eliminate the oarsmen by turning them face down and increasing the amount of gold you have?
I don't think so, because I think it would have to stay eliminated in order to get the gold. Oh, I'm looking at the pirate code, and it says that, okay, yeah, page 52, the crew must be eliminated and must remain eliminated for the remainder of the game in order to gain gold. That's what it says for this.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I figured that Wolf wouldn't allow something that simply, that simple to break the game. Yeah, because, I mean, it does need... its inability is so powerful that it does need to be governed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Governor Weatherby Swan is the next one. He is 2 points. He is, when touching a pirate ship, the ship can load as much of that ship's treasure she can carry. This is terrible.
Yeah, should be 1 point.
This is a really terrible ability, but he was also kind of a useless character, so...
Yeah, true. Yeah. The ability makes no sense, too, for him as a character. He didn't...
It's more like, when this ship is touching a pirate ship, you may beat your own... You may grab something heavy and beat the severed hand that's crawling around the cabin.
Yeah.
And then celebrate like you've been a bad mother.
Yeah. I think he'd be better as like a 0LR +5, but the English already have one of those. So.
Yeah, and that would have kind of broken the set even further. Funny enough, the UT he comes with is Marines, and that is eliminate 1 crew master from the ship, then remove Marines from the game. So it's kind of a small negative thing.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah, it's basic, but classic negative unique treasure. So yeah, pretty simple. The next one is Mercer. This is a very good English crew. Just like Jimmy Legs, this is a 3-point sack crew. So Mercer, unlike the pirates, the English didn't really have a source of sack before this. So this is actually one of the most underrated and important English name crew in the whole game. So Mercer is a great choice for the Endeavor or other English like super gunships. put him on a gunship with, at least 2 or 3 oarsmen, and can really be effective. I will say he was like one of my least favorite characters in movies. I don't know.
He's supposed to be, though.
Oh, yeah.
I would say he looks like an evil Mr. Bean.
Okay, yeah.
Evil Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar face, but much angrier.
Yeah.
Anyway, after him is what UT?
Curse of the Black Spot, which says, once at the beginning of each of your turns, roll a d6. On a result of 6, eliminate the crew on this ship with the highest point cost. So this could be pretty nasty, but as long as you don't roll a 6, it'll be irrelevant. So it's a negative, but I don't know. A lot of times it'll be discovered by a gold runner that won't be very hampered by losing crew. So it's usually not going to be a big deal. So.
Yeah, I think they just kind of didn't understand the strategy that would be relevant behind it.
Yeah.
Next is Mulroy, one of those Marines that appeared throughout the films. He's just a reroller for the English, not much. So I've got to load up the next page. The UT that came on the back of his card is called Gun. And the effect is this ship gets +1 to her boarding rolls for every crew assigned to her. That's pretty neat, but at the same time, I don't think that you're ever going to use that.
Yeah, I would use it, and then try to transfer it to a gunship in a game that was long enough to do that with. It's more interesting as a custom ability on crew, which myself and Xerix have done a handful of times. I think it would be better off called guns, because I don't think one flintlock would be enough to really get that much of a boarding bonus. But and
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it'd be +1 for every crew, so then each crew should get a gun. So it should be guns, not 1. But
no, they share it.
Yeah, but you can't reload it fast enough for that to work well. So.
Hey, speak for yourself, man.
The next one is Mulroy's counterpart, Murtaugh, who is just a musketeer, looks like, so nothing interesting there. At least, he's got a musket in the picture, so I guess that works pretty well. Yeah. And then the UT on the back of his card is called Sword, similar to Gun. But this one is just a flat, the ship gets +1 to boarding rolls, so not as good as Gun, just like Swords. So pretty basic. As basic as it gets, really.
Yeah. It might be more valuable because you're less likely to have crew on a ship that's discovering it. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like it's just kind of
beyond 1.
Yeah, it's a useless UT, more or less.
Yeah, you could use it as defense. If you get raided, you could help repel a boarding party from an enemy raider, but...
Or you could use Jack's compass, which is better for defense than Sword is.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. After Sword is Joshimi Gibbs, known just as Mr. Gibbs. He's a 2-point reducer. We've already talked about those. They should be a little bit cheaper. So on the flip side, his UT is Aztec Medallion. Roll a d6. On a result of 1, all gold on this island is removed from the game. Then remove Aztec Medallion from the game. If you're trying to make somebody else's game miserable, you'd want to choose something a little more guaranteed and a little more effective than this.
Yeah. And
this one... Would this affect the win score?
What was that?
Would this affect the win score?
Yeah, you remove it totally, so it would change how much total is out there, yep. Yeah, you have to recalculate. Yeah, that's an interesting point. That could lead to some questions, definitely. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a good rules question. I'll have to try to remember that to ask Wolf in the thread.
Combine that with Runes of Loki.
Yeah. Aztec Medallion is something I've discovered a few times now, usually in really annoying spots. And I vaguely remember calling my shot on this one because I think it was the Spanish in Vassal Campaign Game 1, after like a treasure replenishment when the island filled up with gold again. I knew I was going to get this, and then I did. I was like, okay. Or I knew I was going to get a 1, and I called it. So anyway, the next one is Anna Maria, and this is a pirate crew for 3 points. Crew of any nationality can use their abilities on this ship. So this one is a decent ability, but it doesn't really work that well for the pirates because they already have the best crew in the game. So.
Yeah, I think it's good, but just not as valuable in this faction.
Yeah.
Something I would like to say is that her art is definitely not from any of the films. It looks like a behind the scenes shot of the set.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because the lighting is so weird. Like,
Yeah.
she's really blown out, but the shadows are really strong. It's like somebody took a flash photo.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. That's a good point.
It's really strange.
Yeah, it's like unique artwork, like specific to pirates or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
as for her UT?
Yeah, if I was Anna Maria, I would want a spyglass so I could find cargo and gold.
Or a better picture of her.
Yeah. Once per turn, the ship can look at one face-down cargo on any ship, so spyglass is very similar to Marksman's Map and shipping charts from Spanish Main. Same ability as some ship abilities as well. So decent, but usually not going to affect the game very much.
Yeah, it's pretty meh to me.
Yeah.
After that is Cotton, who is just padding to the game. He's just a helmsman. There's nothing much to say. His UT is kind of funny because it's called Letter of Mark, and I'm pretty sure there are at least 2 other sets which have UTs that are Letters of Mark. And the effect of this one is this ship can dock at an enemy home island and be given repair actions only while there.
Yeah.
Which it says nothing about stopping you from being shot.
Yeah.
Does that work though?
The original Crimson Coast version, I think you can be shot at with an S of the home island, I think, or fort. So, yeah. So this one's a little bit nerfed, but it's still an okay UT. So.
Yeah, this is still a really interesting and strange one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to try to think about combos with home island raiders, but anyway. Next one is Marty. This is a 2-point pirate crew, and he's a cannoneer, which isn't too interesting, but it does make sense because he always handles the guns in the movies usually. And one little fun fact is that Marty liked one of my Instagram pictures. I have a Instagram account for Pirates CSG, and he liked. I think it was because I had like a Pirates of the Caribbean type hashtag, and he liked one of my photos a while back. So
really,
so at least one cast
That's
member.
pretty cool.
Yeah, at least one cast member from the franchise is vaguely aware of Pirates CSG, so that's kind of cool. And then on the back of his card is rum, and it's the same as the Spanish Main version. The ship can be given an action in the turn after loading rum. Rum is worth gold equal to 6 minus the number of the ship's crew when rum is loaded. So it's decent, best on like an enemy gold runner, but this one is not very good because you lose a whole turn with that ship, which is really bad. I've seen this as more of a negative than a positive. So this one is kind of ugly, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like really similar to. Was there like another UT just like this? Was it like Grog or something?
I think no, the Spanish Main version of rum is exactly the same, so it's a clone.
Yeah. Something crossed my mind. What if Marty is listening to this podcast?
Yeah.
His name's probably not Marty. The actor who played Marty.
Well, yeah, Martin Kleba. So I think Marty is based on his real name. Yeah.
Oh, well, Martin, if you're listening, sign up for an account at Miniature Trading and tell us.
Yeah, he's probably got some problem with his podcast going here.
Yeah, actually, I should do that before we run out of set reviews. I don't have any rum money at the moment. Ooh, maybe I don't even like rum that much. I like the hard cider. I'll just buy rum. I'll be a trooper, maybe. Next up is Norrington, the disgraced version from the second film. This is just a musketeer again. Not interesting. He's paired with potions and brews. You can load this treasure face down, reveal it to force an opponent to re-roll a die roll, then remove potions and brews from the game. Interesting wording. Re-roll a die or dice roll. So, in theory, you could make somebody re-roll, their Diamond Nelson Turner 2d6 types of things, but there's so few incidences of making multiple die rolls at once.
Yeah, hardly at all. Yeah, this is the one. I think this is one of the more underrated ones. I think I wrote a review of it. So I think this is this is another thing that got lost in the shuffle with this set. I think it's one of the more interesting UTs in terms of like moments. Like you could cancel a David Jones 6 roll or something like that, and really change things up. So I think this one is one of the most underrated UTs game, really. So check them out.
It's not as crazy as Runes of Loki.
Yeah, no, that one's more dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
crazy.
Yeah, this plus Runes of Loki, you could utilize to just mess with opponents.
Yeah,
assuming you find them.
Yeah, and then of course Krakens. But anyway, yeah, I got a good review of it if anyone wants to check it out. And next one is I'm on the Corsair. 2-point pirate crew. When this ship hits another ship, you choose which mass is eliminated. This could have been 1 point, but it's an okay ability. It only affects certain ships, but if you've got an enemy ship with a 2-out cannon at the bow, you could take that out first, which could make a little difference in the battle, actually. So I think this one is a tiny bit underrated. It's just that nobody ever thinks about it or talks about it. So
yeah. Something funny I'd like to say about the artwork. It's really inconsistent how they deal with artwork for characters for named crew in this set.
Yeah.
Because this one, this one, I don't even think is a photo because his neck is so small. His neck is absolutely so thin compared to the width of his head. It's like half as wide at most.
I can see. It's just that it's like his head is forward. I think I mean I can see the sides.
Maybe, but but to me, this looks like it looks like a good concept drawing of the character or rendering more than it does a photo of a person.
Okay. Yeah. It's kind of weird. It's like a mugshot or something. There's no back.
Yeah.
So
he was arrested for piracy.
Yeah. Nice. And then
he downloaded The Incredibles off of the Pirate Bay.
Oh yeah, nice. Oh my god. The next one would be more fitting if it was on Cotton's card, because this is Cotton's Parrot. A treasure, not a crew, and it says once per turn the ship can randomly take 1 treasure from any ship she touches. That's kind of nice, because then that's usually 2 or 3 points, so you can get it for free on the UT. Not a big deal, but kind of turn a treasure runner into a little bit more of a threat with it. So I got to use it more often.
It's not particularly good, although another interesting artwork thing I'd like to point out is because of the way this bird's feathers are ruffled, he looks like he's absolutely ripped. He's got mad abs.
Yeah.
Like seriously, if I looked like that, I don't know, I guess people would be calling me Cotton's Parrot. Yeah. But seriously, if I looked the way Cotton's Parrot did, I could probably do crunches with a car on my shoulders or something. Who knows? After Cotton's Parrot is Capitaine Cheval, who is actually a very interesting crew, and a repeat of that strange situation with card arts, that mugshot sort of thing. He's also very brightly lit. I mean, he's wearing white face makeup, but like, he looks absolutely ghostly in this. He's 4 points, and when the ship hits an enemy ship, you can also eliminate 1 cargo from that ship. Note that it doesn't say once per turn. This is every hit.
Yeah.
This ability exists on only 1 other crew, Qian from South China Seas, who has some interesting trivia about him, but go listen to that episode for that. And this ability is also found on, I think, Asesino della Nave and Angelica the Sea Dragon, and not many places else.
Yeah, it's really great. It was on the Satisfaction, but that's a terrible ship. In this case, you really benefit from being on a crew, because, first of all, the pirates have a ton of great ships to put them on, and you can put them on any. So the Zeus is really scary with this guy in a World Hater, super scary. The
Rananoidia is a great place to put him.
Yeah, what was it? Sorry.
Rananoidia, the pirate titan that does 2 masts per hit.
Yeah, that'd be like crazy overkill. Nice. And they have a lot of good ships in general to come on. So Cheval is supremely useful.
I've heard the same about the UT Jailhouse Dog. You can load this treasure face down, reveal Jailhouse Dog to remove any treasure from the game, then remove Jailhouse Dog from the game. At the same time, I see the value in this now, because if you have Karmic Idol or whatever that was, Pirata Codex, those are activated the instant you find them, whereas this one you can hold until your opponent finds something game-breaking or something, and then flip it, and then prevent it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can flip it whenever you want, so it's pretty powerful. Yeah, this one is actually really fantastic at preventing some enemy UTs. And this one, it's also a fun killer, though, because it's kind of like, oh, man. But it's definitely interesting. I'm glad they managed to get the doggy into the game. I don't know if this is the right way to do it, because it's quite powerful. But yeah, this one is quite good and pretty.
Why didn't they name the dog?
Yeah, I don't know.
For the game, at least.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, it's like Curse. It's at least better than Curse Crew 1.
Yeah.
Like that.
Hello, puppy.
Yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say, but I'm trying to remember. The next one is Gentleman Jocard. We've talked about in other episodes. The ship gets +1 to cargo spaces, and this crew takes up no cargo space. Pirate crew for 3 points. And this one is quite good on hybrids and gold runners. I think it could have been 2 points. I'm not as enthused with this ability as a lot of other people, but it's still pretty good.
I think he's really good. I think I still overrate him. It's great to be able to raise cargo on a ship, even if it does cost you 3 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's both good and overrated. He has his uses where he's really great, but in a lot of situations, he's not really that valuable.
Yeah, I don't think he's like necessary, I guess, as a lot of people think.
Yeah. As a counterpart to the jailhouse dog, which we last talked about, what of Jail? Jail is the UT for Jocard. Put this ship's crew in your home island, then remove Jail from the game.
Yeah, I've seen this one a couple times. It's kind of interesting because it doesn't eliminate like Marines or missionaries, so it's a little bit more unique in that regard. So I like this one as a negative because it's not too powerful, but it provides a big effect, especially if a hybrid finds it. That really cripples that ship a lot. So.
Yeah, kind of meh for me.
Yeah.
Next crew is another one of those mugshot like things. Yeah. He doesn't look like the actor. The lighting is really strange.
Huh.
But it's Sri Sumbaji.
Yeah.
I think. 4 points, once per turn, if the ship carries treasures, and then what? Wait. So this is treasure trading, but for
Terrible.
4 points?
Yeah, it's awful.
I mean, I guess this is within S instead of is touching, but or whatever. This is still 4 points for an ability that's not even worth 1. I think.
Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah. I put it at 1 on custom crew today, just because my historical custom of the day, just because I can't give it for free. So yeah, this is only worth about 1 point. So 4 is kind of an insult, really. It's too bad.
His UT is cannibals. Eliminate the crew on the ship with the lowest point cost, then remove cannibals from the game. Meh. I mean, wouldn't you want to do the highest point cost? Wasn't that a different UT in here?
Yeah, Curse of the Black Spot, which is on a 6, but still.
Yeah, but that's still more damaging, and that can do damage to more than one crew. I wouldn't do cannibals.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, Missionary totally destroys cannibals, and even Marines, too, so, yeah. Oh, well.
That's kind of funny, because that's a good description of history as well.
Yeah. The next one is Mistress Ching, and she's also overpriced. She's got another mugshot. She looks kind of freaky, kind of spaced out, actually.
They gave her the white makeup, too, but not on her neck.
Yeah, this is scary, man. I didn't realize how scary this portrait was.
Spooky, scary Mistress Ching is staring into your soul.
Oh, man. This ship can unload cargo at your home island if she's within S of it for 4. Yeah. I don't think that's worth more than 2 or 3, so I think this is a bad decision here.
At the same time, this is a unique ability, and this is pretty important to the mercenaries.
Okay. Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, the slipstream. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So the reason why Mistress Ching is important to the mercenaries is, for those unfamiliar, you probably should be. If you're not, go listen to the Mysterious Islands podcast. I'm plugging another episode again. Mercenaries can't dock at their home island, so normally they can't run gold. There's a rare submarine called the Slipstream that accepts crew of any nationality. You can put Mistress Ching on the Slipstream, and that'll give you a workaround that allows you to unload gold at your home island as mercenaries.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Great point. And I'm gonna get back into the pun game here. The mercenaries struggle to get any plunder, which is the next unique treasure, and it says this ship can't be given an action the turn after loading plunder. After loading plunder, roll a d6. Plunder is worth gold equal to the result. So similar to rum, I don't know. The lack of action after you find it is really debilitating. So I often see this as more of a negative than a positive. And there's no guarantee you're going to roll a high. So this could be awful. You could lose a turn with the ship and then roll like a 1 or a 2 and just... This is pretty negative overall.
Or you roll a 5 or a 6 and your opponent has Brews and Potions or Loki's Revenge.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Or wait, no, it's not Loki's Revenge. It's Runes of Loki.
Yeah. Or
Loki's
both.
Revenge is a
yeah, that'd be pretty
they
bad
have the
for
ship
you too.
and then they activate Sack and sink your ship.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, plunder. Meh. They shouldn't make you wait a turn, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, was it you that started Mistress Ching or me?
Yeah, no, I did it, yeah.
Okay. Next is Captain Villanueva, who looks really like he's in a mugshot. I'm surprised that they didn't include a side profile as well. Captain Villanueva can dock to enemy home island, load 1. Okay, he's a home island raider for 4 points.
Yeah.
Not a great deal.
No.
I'd rather take Devereaux and get like a couple neat side abilities with it.
Yeah. I'd rather use I don't know, like a ship with home island rating built in, and then you don't have to expend a cargo space on him. So
True.
And 4 points is a bit much on a crew. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
His corresponding UT is smuggled goods. When the ship unloads gold at your home island, double the gold value of the treasure with the lowest gold value on the ship, then remove smuggled goods from the game. Is this kind of like Jade, but not reusable?
Yeah, you can't reuse it. Yep, exactly.
So it's a worse version of Jade.
Yeah, it's the same as Spices. It's another clone, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of clones, actually. Yeah, smuggled
really
goods. Smuggled goods is a classic I've seen in a lot of fleets. I've used it a bunch on my own. It's still pretty good, definitely. So,
yep.
And now we're into the super rares. Yeah, so the Black Pearl. This is the third version of the Black Pearl, super rare number 087. 4-masted ship, 16 points, only 2 cargo, SS move. All 4 cannons are 3L, and it's got fear. And if this ship has a captain crew, she gets +1 to her cannon rolls. So this is totally overshadowed by the other 2 Black Pearls, but if you don't have either of those somehow, and you've got this one, this is actually not too bad of a pirate gunship. I would do I would do Captain Housen and just let it rip. So got 2L guns, solid speed. If she had 4 cargo, 5, she might be on par with the other Black Pearls, especially with 5, but as is, the cargo really holds her back. And this is a translucent or transparent ship, which I wish I had.
Yeah, I do have this one. You're right. She's translucent, so of course she cannot cast a shadow on the other ships because she can't cast a shadow. It is still a good gunship, but at this price and at this size, I'd rather go for HMS Gallows.
Yeah.
Or one of the other Black Pearls.
Yep.
Black Pearl's counterpart in the super rare pack is Fantasia, a 1-masted sloop. Now, this is a funny one because Fantasia is possibly one of the best cheerleader ships.
Yeah.
Fantasia is actually a very pretty ship, but we don't need to talk too much about that. It's 11 points, 2 cargo, L move, 2 S gun, and then cheerleader, friendly ships within S get +1 to cannon rolls. It's 11 points, and it's got a decent gun, so you could make this... you can actually almost use it because it's the most cost-effective among them.
Yeah, this one's more viable than almost all the others, so yeah, not too bad. And I did see a thread one time about how it's kind of a unique game piece because it could be a weird gateway for Disney fans or Mickey fans to discover Pirate CSG, because the artwork is based on the Fantasia and whatnot. So, and it's kind of, I know it's a lot of people don't like Disney, but I was there a few times as a kid and actually saw the whole show around it. So another reason I want this ship. But anyway, so the next one is Cursed Captain Jack. So this is the third and final version of Jack Sparrow. He's 7 points, pirate crew. He's got Parley, and once at the beginning of each of your turns, roll a d6. On a result of 6, no abilities except Parley are used until the beginning of your next turn. So this is a huge, like, global cancellation effect, which is dramatically powerful when you get it. And it's really annoying in big games, like a campaign game. The Cursed, like, they were like obsessed with killing him basically in CG1, which they finally did after a while. And this is just, it's kind of a fun killer, but also like a really dramatically effective ability. It's really crazy, honestly. Wacky.
Yeah, it's one that I probably will never use because his value scales exponentially in larger games, but in the games that I tend to play, not so much.
Yeah.
The UT in the super rare pack is a really interesting one. This is the Kraken Gong, or Kraken Gong. At the beginning of each of your turns, roll a d6. On a result of 1, eliminate a Kraken. On 2 to 5, ignore any damage dealt by a Kraken to a friendly ship this turn. On to 6, choose any Kraken and place it within S of an enemy ship. So you're more familiar with this UT's use than I am.
Yeah, this one is pretty devastating. I still haven't used it in a game, but I did base a gimmick fleet around using it. So basically the goal was to use people like Devereaux and others to spy for the UT and then to get it, and then you'd use like Runes of Thor with Nemo's plans to bring in a Kraken like every single turn, which is really crazy and game breaking. But so basically it's amazing when used with other UTs, but other than that, it's a big risk, but just a crazy powerful one. So it's kind of hard to take it seriously because it can break the game so easily and so quickly. So
I'm pretty sure that it doesn't. That miniature trading description might be inaccurate because I'm pretty sure this does actually allow you to bring them in from outside the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes no mention of it in the entry on the database here, but yes, you can actually add units to the game at no point cost, at no gold cost. It's kind of broken.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my gimmick fleet says like you can bring around 100 extra points of stuff into the game with the right combo. So
yeah, I saw that, and that was one of the most creative fleets I've ever seen, and definitely a devastating one if you can get it right.
Yeah, thanks. The next one is the first special edition box ship. HMS Diamond is an English 4-master, 11 points, 3 cargo, SS move. All 4 cannons are 3S, and the ship gets +1 to her cannon rolls against pirate ships. Not much to say, just a basic 4-masted gunship. So.
Yeah, she's not fit. She does not deserve her name. She's not a diamond. She's really pretty mediocre in the context of English ships. Yeah. Things I would rather do than use HMS Diamond include a road trip to one of the hottest cities in the country, Phoenix, which happens to be the name of the next ship, HMS Phoenix. 10.4 master, 4 cargo space, L move, all 3L guns, and this has that range doubling ability to roll 6 to hit, the gimmick that we all love so much. Considering the decent guns, passable move, low cost, good cargo space, and a fun ability, yes please. I wish I had one of these, but SE ships are pretty hard to come across these days from this set.
Yeah, especially this set. Yeah, I like HMS Phoenix a lot. She's a really cool and fun ship, and a very good gunship option overall for the point cost. And she looks pretty too, even better than I remembered. So, but if you're going to Phoenix, I'm going to Neptune because that's the next ship actually. It's a pirate 4-master, 11 points, 3 cargo, SS move. Cannons are 3S, 3L, 3L, 3S, and the ship gets +1 to her cannon rolls against English ships. So I'm kind of the opposite.
So it's a slightly better version of Diamond.
Yeah, but still not good.
Yeah, still terrible, but better than Diamond. Which is actually kind of a funny sentence in and of itself. After Neptune comes Sea Nymph, which is another not-so-great ship. 13 points, 4 masts, L move, 4S guns on the end. Wait, no, it goes 4S, 3L, 3S, 4S, which is kind of funny. And then it's just got home island rating. It's not really well equipped for that. It's not a good ship.
Yeah, nah. And the original Sea Nymph had SL speed from Spanish Main, so this one is a much worse version. And that one was only 11 points, I think, so way better.
Yep.
So they really nixed it. The Krakens are next, so I'll go over the keyword, at least in some detail, as fast as I can. My mouse cooperates here. So the Krakens were a new ship type, sea creature type introduced. So Kraken and Octopus do the same thing. So they're sea creatures. At any time during your turn, if your Kraken is within S of an opponent's ships, it may surround that ship as a free action. Place the Kraken under the ship so that tentacles surround the ship. If there is more than one opposing ship within S, the Kraken can only surround it at a time, and it cannot surround a docked ship or another Kraken. Surrounded ship cannot begin a move action until the Kraken is eliminated or moves away. Kraken cannot shoot or be shot at unless it surrounds a ship. So it basically is immune until it surrounds something. And then once it surrounds it, another ship, you can only shoot at the surrounded ship, and the surrounded ship can only shoot at the Kraken. And you can't shoot on the same turn that it surrounds the ship. So the ship will get the first shot, basically. And then with the targeting thing we talked about earlier, if you have Captain Davy Jones in your fleet, you may use the ship's action for the turn to declare an opponent's ship the target of a Kraken. That Kraken gains plus S to its base move, but it can only shoot at the targeted ship. It can still surround others. Chosen ship remains the target until a new target declared. The targeted ship sinks, the Kraken is eliminated. So that gives them a speed boost if you have Captain Davy Jones. Overall, the Krakens are, as you'll see, overpriced and slow, but you can chain them, which is incredible. So that's the best way to make them move faster is you can surround and unsurround at will. So you can chain enemy ships together as long as they're with an S. So that's like one of the best ways to make a Kraken speedier. The first one is a fearsome creature. They basically used quotes from the movie to as a cop out to try to introduce more Krakens, or else they would only have one, of course. So a fearsome creature is I don't know if it was Gibbs that said that, but this is a pirate. They're all pirate actually. Pirate Kraken, 19 points, no cargo, L move. The cannons are 4S, 3S, 3S, 2S, 2S, 3S, 3S, 4S. But it's pretty random because they just go around in an order. There's two sides with 4 apiece, and the cannons are kind of out of order based on the placement, I've noticed. But this one is really basic and just kind of, it's the cheapest one, but you're usually better off paying a little bit more to get the better ones. So.
Yeah, you really are. And that much will be obvious to the audience once we read off the better ones. Something I'd like to add to the whole Krakens in general thing is that they are actually kind of hard to surround a ship with. The base is big, but they do kind of arc over, and it's hard to actually get the ship in. Sometimes you have to settle for sort of wedging it into the corner of the opening.
Yeah. Some don't even work. Like a 10-master, you can't.
You just kind of pretend. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, they're also sort of a pain to assemble and store.
Yeah, they come apart easily.
They do, and when they don't, they take up a lot of space. Yeah. So, after a fearsome creature comes Beastie, which we all know is from Hello Beastie. 3 points more. This one's 22 points. It's been changed. All of its tentacles are 3L, but it has the Eternal keyword, which is pretty important for something that cannot repair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all 3S, or else it'd be even better. But But yeah, with the Eternal, this one becomes pretty good, and the ability to come back over and over again is pretty scary. And I actually was able to use that Eternal with Beastie in a really kind of famous and really fantastic 100-point game, but I'll talk about that more on the forum, I'm sure, at some point. Kraken is next from Pintel and Rigetti argument. Pintel is like, always heard it said Kraken. So this one is a pirate as well. 21 points, 0 cargo, L move as usual. The cannons are, there's 4 2S's, 2 3S's, and 2 4S's. And then it's got Kraken and a crazy ability that says, at the beginning of each turn, roll a d6. The result of 5 or 6 no crew abilities can be used that turn. So this is kind of a twist on first Captain Jack's ability, so it works on a 5 or 6, but it's only crew abilities, not all. So it's still extremely powerful, and it can really slow everything down, because all the helmsmen get shut down. So all of a sudden, ships go way slower for a whole round of turns. So this one is quite powerful, and you could make a case that it's the best one, but the next one is really
yeah.
So.
And also, I've just realized, if you knew you're going to be playing a really big game, what you could do is put this in your fleet and choose almost entirely ships that don't need crew.
That's exactly what Wolf did. Yeah, he has like a super voted on. It was Fleet of the Week back a long time ago. I think he created it in like 2010. Check out Denial of Service Attack by Wolf for anybody looking at it. I'll try to put a link on the podcast page as well, because it's a really amazing fleet that everybody should check out. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could use the USS Stevens, and you could use fast basic treasure runners,
yep.
and a lot of the time your opponent would be just totally disarmed.
Yep.
Yeah, but I guess it's not my idea, so or at least not my original idea.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go on to the Kraken. And this is another one that has Eternal, only this one has the same ability as the last, as Krakens. So I would argue because, technically the cannons, if you will, 6 of them, I think, 5 of them are 2S, and then 3 of them are 3S. So that's more or less the best armament. It's got Eternal, so it can endure, and it's got the crew disabling ability. So I would, personally, because Eternal is so valuable on sea creatures, I would say use this if you want this ability. Use, I think it was Beastie, if you don't want the crew disable ability.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Kraken is one of the feature pieces of this set, and really an imposing foe to go up against in a bigger game where it can really shine. So, and the last one is a remake of the first one. So we started with the Flying Dutchman, we end with the Flying Dutchman. This version is a lot different, and it's a Pirate 5 Master, the same. It's a promo, number 300, 11 points, 5 masts, L move. All the cannons are 3S, and the ability says, think this is cool? Try playing the full Disney Pirates of the Caribbean Pocket Model game. And if you follow the website, you either get disappointed because it doesn't work, and or you just get redirected to the Wizards homepage. So, wah. So this one, though, is 9 points cheaper than the original, so it's a lot more flexible. No ability, but that's good as a hybrid, because for 16 points, you get a solid hybrid with Captain Helmsman, and you're not limited into that. You're not, like, forced into that, like, super gunship mode of the other one. So you can make a case that this one is a decently better ship, actually.
Yeah. A couple other interesting things about this. I think at 11 points, it's I want to say the second cheapest 5 master ever released.
That sounds good.
And so it should be pretty obvious to anybody who looks at this that this is a decently potent ship. Unfortunately, it's also incredibly common. They printed these by the tens or hundreds of thousands, I doubt into the millions, but I bet they printed hundreds of thousands of these and distributed them at conventions to try to get people hooked. As a result, you can find these so easily online.
Yeah.
On eBay, these are like $5 is too much for one of these.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah, they're good ships and they're easily available. So,
that's a good starter ship too. Yeah. It's a good one to get, and it's thematic. Yeah, it's cheap, thematic. It's a promo. A lot of people love the Flying Dutchman, of course, super famous. So yeah, it's a great idea, I guess.
Actually, to build off previous recommendations, I would say new players, if any are listening to this, for under $15, you can get this, Obago, and the 2007 convention pack.
Yep.
You can get those for less than $15, possibly shipped, and they'll add some interesting spice to to your small collection, because they'll all have good artwork, and they'll all be reasonably fun to use.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, change up the games and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we
We're at the
covered
end of the set.
I don't have anything else to say. So.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty short set, because if you follow the numbers, there are, 94 plus 4. There are only 99 pieces in this set. Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
The biggest set was like Ocean's Edge, the last one.
Yeah, it gets longer because there's so many crew UT combos and they're numbered the same. So
Yeah,
effectively
true.
there's more. Yeah, that's where it gets bogged down in the double card stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot smaller than OE regardless. So, all right. So yeah, I'm good if you are. So
that I am. I like the set as a whole, but like I said, I keep my mashed potatoes and my peas separate on my plate.
Yeah, I still love the idea of it. And I'm
except
really
for HMS Hyena, which I'll use.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm really glad they did this set, and I think it's great. It probably got a lot of people into the game too, and a lot of kids into it, so I think that's valuable. So, good idea on WizKid's part. The execution was a bit sloppy with no curse
and some questionable abilities.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and definitely, kind of unbalanced with OP and not so great. But oh well. So overall, a solid set though. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with more.